Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of season 1 of Rocket Lasso Live. We have made it all the way through the first season. Today is the finale. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Good to see you. We got lots of people hanging out today, which is very cool. I would expect that I was promoting this one a whole bunch. Thanks everybody for coming in. If it is your first time hanging out, super duper welcome. We're going to do a little bit of an intro here, and then I kind of start the proper kind of recording intro a little bit in. So right now we just do some news. So let's see, who do we got in the house? The layout of my streamy thing is a little bit weird, but I am seeing everybody from Twitch and from YouTube, which is awesome. We got Scott, Ivan, Bihavana, Darkbane, what's going on? Carbon, hello, hello. VFX, what's going on, man? Apple, Abdo, K Valerie, hello. NC17, nice seeing you again. Ralph, Roman, Chad, hi everybody, thanks for hanging out. My chat window is very scrunched, so I'm only seeing a small sliver of it, but thanks for everybody chatting. I wonder if I can change settings, appearance. Yeah, the chat app got weird on me today, so I had to like redo it. Notifications, appearance, compact mode. Ooh, compact mode. Nice. Oh, there we go. Now I can see everybody much better. I can see like 4 times as many messages at the same time. Nice. Okay, so it's just some quick news. I'm just getting the window stretched out here so I can read it better. Nice. Okay. So, Terry, Mr. Mad Dog, Leo, hi everybody, Yada Globe, Deneth, Robert, Joe, Cliff, look at all those cool new names. Okay, so let's do some quick context here since there's a lot of new names. This is Rocket Lasso Live. It is this is the final episode of the season. But normally it's a weekly show. Every Wednesday, I just take Cinema 4D questions, motion graphics questions, and we try and figure it out live. Do it like in the moment, click the link, check it out. So the way this usually goes is people post a link or they ask a question. If you post a link, it's usually to somebody's Twitter or Instagram or YouTube video, something like that. Very, very important. I cannot and will not answer the question unless I can see the artist or the studio who made it. I want to be able to give credit to the people who put it together. So make sure that you're linking to the original source. I know there's a lot of really cool stuff on Instagram and people who retweet other Instagram pictures and whatnot. Make sure you go to the source, not the retweeter or the, I don't know what you call it, Instagram, whoever's like reposting and remessaging and hosting that stuff. And if you're linking to some sort of video on YouTube or something, make sure you call out the specific effect or the time, because of course if it's like a 30-second video, there's probably like 12 different crazy effects that we could try and tackle in there. So those are the rules. I'll probably restate them a little bit again. Is everything working here? It seems to be. Nobody's freaking out. So I've got my phone here ready in case something technical goes wrong. I got people who are going to send me a message, so that should cover that. Some extra news. If you are not already here, I'm going to switch my screen here. Boom. So first of all, a quick thing, I guess. Rocket Lasso, I have a Patreon set up, so if you want to support my tutorials and these kind of live streams, head on over there. If you're on Twitch, you can just find a link below. That's just a cool thing that helps support and keep this going. But I specifically am going to be doing a bunch of stuff focusing on the break on HAFRES. HAFRES is a conference I help run in Chicago. So this is happening September 18th. If you're in the Midwest or anywhere and you want to travel over to Chicago, it is a awesome, giant kind of conference compressed down into one night of a big party of presentations and drinking and everything. It's super fun. And we've already sold half of the tickets, so jump on in if you haven't gotten that already. It's really cool and exciting, and I am super looking forward to it. And I'm going to be presenting this year, and we've got Smearballs presenting this year, and it's just going to be really cool stuff. I've got a pinball machine I'm going to be revamping for the new version of that. It's just good stuff all around. And what else? Actually, I mean, like I said, final episode of the season. The big news, of course, here is we have a giveaway. I haven't gotten to develop any new tools that are available yet. And normally during live streams, the season finale, it would be like, oh, we've got a special prize to give away and there'd be tools to do. But we don't have those ready yet. So I talked to Maxon, and the prize that we're going to be giving away at some point during the show is going to be a full 1-year subscription to Cinema 4D version 21. So of course that won't start until R21 is released, which is usually sometime in early September, so not too far from now. There'll be a full year subscription to R21. So that is crazy awesome. I asked them if they had any prizes, and I was thinking something, relatively small, or maybe some Cineversity. And they're like, oh, how about a year of cinema? I was like, what? That's awesome. So I am super excited about that. Uh, so the idea is going to be at some point I'm going to go into the chat and I'm going to copy all the names that I can and all the chat that's been happening, and I post it into a text randomizer. And when it randomizes the text, whichever name is on top is going to end up winning. So I'm not going to say exactly when that's going to happen, but that means everybody, if you want a chance to win, then you have to be participating in the chat. But don't be spamming. I don't want it getting all spammy if somebody's going boom, boom, boom and posting again and again. This is more about just having some conversation, having a little bit of fun. And I like it. I like it being weighted to participation, so that's why we're doing it this way. So we'll keep it light. It won't be until later in the stream, so you don't have to worry early on. But that is the plan. So thank you everybody who's watching on Twitch. Thank you everybody who is on YouTube as well. I am seeing both of those chats. If you happen to be on Facebook, actually your chats should still come through here, although people very rarely are watching on Facebook. So once again, don't spam chat, don't spam questions. If your question goes by and I don't see it or don't answer it, and then I kind of wrap up one question, you can feel free to post it again. Just don't go spammy. Let's see, other announcements. Half-Res, that's a big one. There is not super official details out yet, but I'm going to be participating in the Maxon Roadshow. It's going to be jumping around to different parts of the world. I'm going to be spending some time in Europe with that. Should be really cool. I think I'll be spending like 2 weeks in Europe, so that's exciting. There's also a couple cities in the US I'll be participating in, but there's a lot of different people they're going to have presenting. I'm not going to be in all of the places, but that's another thing that I'm going to need to be focusing on. So the idea for the break here before we start season 2 is going to be, the next 2 to 3 months. I'm not exactly sure when it comes back, but I'll be really busy with other things, and we'll come back with a full season. This, of course, was a slightly shorter season because Rocket Lasso was born kind of in the middle of the year. So we didn't get to start as early as we usually would, but we did get a full 20 episodes in. So it's like, we did more than 2 hours like every episode. So this is more than 40 hours, probably closer to like 50 hours of content we created here. So that should be fun. Yeah, that's and yeah, for people in the chat, everything. Samuel's asking if I'll be in London. That is actually one of the cities I'm supposed to be in, so that could be cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so yeah, when we actually find the winner, if for some reason somebody's like, hey, I don't use cinema, or hey, I already have it, or whatever, you want to pass, then we'll just randomize again because the chat comes up pretty quick, and we'll figure that out. And I'm just gonna be counting that somebody is going to be in the chat. I think let's also make the rule official that you have to be, when we do randomize, you have to be here to say like, oh, I'm here, because I'm going to need your details. So if you're not here to claim it in a fairly quick amount of time in the chat, then we'll have to re-roll again. But that should be all of the news. Sort of. Well, here's another important thing. If you're not already following Rocket Lasso, of course, is my new company where I'm doing all this Cinema 4D stuff mostly, and I'm doing these live streams, I'm making tutorials on YouTube, and hopefully getting some really cool tools out into the world. So always working on that kind of stuff behind the scenes. In fact, I've been doing a bunch of code this last week. So that's why I haven't been, it's hard to do social media and this kind of content and work actively on tools. So it's challenging to combine all those things, but that's all really cool. So if you're not already following, like you're already on Rocket Lasso on YouTube, so subscribe or follow on Twitch, follow at Rocket Lasso on Twitter and Instagram and Patreon and rocketlasso.com. Trying to get all that stuff off the ground. Really appreciate any of the support and following it. And I'm going to be really excited when those new tools are ready, although they are a little ways away. I got big plans, so it takes a lot to do it. And the one last one to shout out is make sure you join the Rocket Lasso Slack channel. That is where there's a whole community of people who are answering questions, asking questions, doing cool challenges. There's like weekly sketches, there's big chain projects, there's modeling challenges. It's just really cool. I think there's a new modeling challenge getting off the ground, and there's already conversations of deciding what the next chain project is going to be. So head on over to the current URL is rocketlassoslack.com. Crossfader already posted it in the chat. Head on over, join the community, come hang out. The conversation continues there. Oftentimes, I have people, I get stuck on something during this live stream, and someone will come up with a solution and send me a message there, and then we'll have it ready to rock. So I think that covers all of the news. Sorry for all the kind of recap. We got a bunch of new people hanging out. Thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out here. We're going to start the proper one. So get your questions together, get them ready to post, and everybody keep on hanging out. Okay, I'm going to disappear for a second and come back with the short intro. So BRB. Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Schmidt, and welcome to the season finale of Rocket Lasso Live Season 1. We have successfully gotten all the way through 20 episodes. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for hanging out, and thank you so much for the questions. I could not do this without your questions live in the chat. We do this live, answering Cinema 4D questions and motion graphics questions. So we've already got tons of people hanging out in the chat. We got lots of new people coming and hanging out, especially because today we're going to be giving away a year subscription to Cinema 4D R21, very generously donated from the nice people over at Maxon. So that is extra super exciting. But in any case, that is only for the people watching this live. We are going to start answering questions. I'm going to go ahead and pop open Cinema 4D. I have got both R20 and R21 ready because most plugins are not currently compiled for R21. R21 breaks all the plugins again, which I explained is completely understandable. They're working on the core and changing fundamental things about the code in Cinema 4D, so those plugins break. So we can jump back and forth between the two. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen so I don't forget to. And we're going to start clicking on some links. Once again, if I don't get to your link, feel free to post it again a little bit later. Just don't go spamming it. So let me read some different ones. Some sort of anime effects, liquid to hard metal, dynamic dance. Lots of questions coming in, so it's going to be hard to choose. A large sheet of dynamically linked pieces. Oh man, these all sound pretty cool. How do I choose? Well, Paul got the first question in this section, so I'm going to go ahead and click on his link. The right window, awesome. So let's see. Ooh, it's going really quick. Oh, nice. Okay, I already love it. This is Mr. Spinosaurus. Actually, I'm not sure that they made it because it says credit to Envato, TM. Who is Envato? Artist? Music in the, oh, that's the music in the video. What is Envato? Let's go ahead and Google that just to make sure that we are giving the proper credit. Digital assets. Okay, it seems like it's an asset website. Okay, well, if that is the case and not a specific artist, then maybe, all right, well, hopefully we can, hopefully it's clear that this is kind of the credit. But we've got all of these crazy anime effects. I'm going to jump around a little bit. And let's see, these are 54 effects. Now, okay, Paul, you did link to specifically 53 seconds in, so it's a whole long video of all these cool effects. So specifically, you linked to kind of right here. Yeah, so kind of like this little, these lasers. Yeah, tricky stuff. I mean, essentially it's this. And you can even see here let's just assume we're starting from here. You can see how essentially frame by frame, there's almost nothing in continuity. This is clearly drawn in 2D, and then you get your little explosion. So the light goes really big, you have this big burst beam, and then the smoke is going from small to enormous, and then kind of doing these cool fade outs. And then they even get those little trails afterward. So when it comes to this stuff, I actually did spend a bunch of time trying to do some of these kind of effects, and I was making some progress, but some of it can become a little bit specific and even potentially a little bit, I don't want to say tedious. Well, it doesn't make for good live stream content necessarily, but let's see what we can do quickly. So I kind of like that burst. We kind of got two parts here, but one being the smoke and one being the little burst. We'll see how far we get because I want to hit a bunch of questions because we got a bunch of people in here. So let's try and get some crazy line stuff going. Now, this kind of thing, having signal would be really nice, but at the same time, I kind of want to use the new field stuff. But I don't know if we need the new field stuff. So I'm going to go in R20. So let's go ahead and create a straight spline to start out with here. So I'm going to make a helix. I'm going to go 0, 0, and you can see we've got a straight line. I don't need too many subdivisions here. I'm going to drop it down to maybe 5. We might not even need that. So one of the basic ideas here is we can sweep that, but I'm going to take that and put it into, oh man, this actually could be bad because I've already gotten used to, first of all, look, I have a bug here where I think it's showing the wrong layout. So I'm going to go to startup layout again. There we go. Now I got the proper bar on the top, so now I can go into MoGraph. I've had that happen very occasionally. But I might be used to some of the new R20 layout, so that could be a little bit of a problem for me. So what I'm going to do is I can make some clones here, and I'm going to set the Y height to 0, and I'm going to immediately create a random effector, and that random effector is going to randomize my rotation, which I'm going to set to a full 360 on all angles. And now you can see I kind of get this nice random burst of these traveling in all directions. So right away, cool. Now we can animate all of these by turning on something like indexed and setting this to noise. So if I play, now everything is individually animating. The speed is usually pretty quick. We can slow that down, but for the effect we're going for, I think we do want something pretty quick. So if we go back up to 100%, that's actually not going to be terrible for what we're doing. I think that's maybe too many lines for what we're going for. Now there's also some additional, well, actually that's not bad. Something like that's working okay. I'm also going to turn on scale. I guess we'll do a uniform scale, and I'll have them, I'm going to say absolute scale. So that means that they're all their original size or smaller. So now we can get something like that twirling around. So I think we just want to kind of keyframe a couple of key things here. And this goes back to where I probably want to use signal, although let's try doing it with no keyframes, especially since we have so many people in here. So, and let me scroll down to all of chat. Oh, sorry, Chad. You might have posted the first question, but it was scrolled too far up. But I'll be doing more. Let's do this quick. Okay, so we're going to start out with, I guess it's all going to go pretty quick. So let's say in 15 frames. Ooh, you know what we should do before I go too far? Let's go into our project settings, and I'm going to drop us down to 15 frames a second. So we're going to be running at a lower frame rate, which is going to help match the cartoony style a little bit more. We'll jump ourselves up to 100 frames. So about 10 frames in, I don't like that seed, but we'll fix that. This is when I want the height to be 200. So I'm going to now record the height of 200 on the helix, and let's go back to 0. And at the time of 0, I'm going to set that down to 0. So now that by itself should grow into being a bigger shape. And then we can also, I mean, honestly, the way those are moving around is pretty good. So that might be a fine start right there. In addition, I'm kind of inclined to keyframe up more of these. So let's just say, how many do we want? Yeah, I'm going to go up to like 12. And at the very beginning, I'm going to have there be 0. So let's see what we get. Okay, so something is going to kind of burst up like that. Okay, so that happens. And then we're going to have some sort of kind of burst happen. Now we've got all of these lines going randomly. I'm going to keep it a little bit more simple. Let's go ahead and make I'm going to make a star pattern. Let's let's make it flat, and I'm going to rotate my camera. Hopefully the other lines look okay. Let's drop this down to 4 points. And let's make it pretty pointy. And let's go ahead and hit play. Make sure that those lines are a good scale. Scale this down. So that's what I want to have kind of burst up. And I'm going to zoom up enough so this can kind of crop off of the screen. So let's see what we're going to get. We're going to let that go up, and right around the time of, let's say, 10. Well, let's say at the time of 5 is when it's going to kind of look like this star as it is right now. So let's record both the inner and the outer. I'm going to rewind 5 frames, and let's essentially zero those both out. Say 0, 0, boom, boom. So now, what do we get? We've got this nice little random burst, and then the star is going to come in, and then we'll go a couple more frames forward. Honestly, I'm probably not having this go quick enough, but let's go ahead and have that star get real big. We'll even have it burst out like that. And we might make all this like way snappier. Yeah, those definitely need to be snappier. So I'm going to cut that. I'm going to grab the keyframes, scoot them back, grab those keyframes, scoot them back. I want those to really happen quick. Okay, so that's going to happen, and then everything's going to kind of disappear from there. But we'll simultaneously hopefully make some sort of burst of smoke. Now, how are we going to actually see these? These are just splines. So a couple things we might do. We could put these into a volume, turn them into real geometry. We can sweep them. We can just, and I think what I might go with is, well, Sketch and Tune can fight each other, but if we just make solid white lines, I think I am just going to make a Sketch and Tune. So let's go ahead and make a Sketch and Tune shader. So I'm going to make a new sketch material, and let's go ahead and apply it directly to the helix, and the star is going to end up being a sweep. So I'm going to put that into a loft, and we're going to make a purely white material, and we will apply that to our loft. All right, so let's see what we're going to do with the lines. First of all, let's go to our render settings, and under Sketch and Tune, I'm going to say don't apply a default material. I only want them to appear where I put them. And then I'm going to go to render settings and say resolution independent. This is actually really important. You have to say resolution independent, and I'm going to say custom. What this means is whatever the lines I see on the screen, that's what I'm going to see for the final render. Otherwise, when you change your resolution, then your scale of line changes, and that can drive you nuts when it comes time to do your final render. I'm going to go to shading, and I'm going to say background. Well, we're going to make a white line here so we can make something a little bit dark. I'm just going to go with a nice dark gray, maybe with a little hint of orange. And then shading off. I just want the shading to be whatever it is. Okay, cool. Now we've got a little Sketch and Tune line here. We're on a colored background, so now I can go to our color. I'm going to make the line white because I want a nice bright white line. We want a bunch of thickness here, so I'm going to add in some thickness, and I can hit render, and immediately we are going to see these lines get generated. Nice. So let's go ahead and we're going to keep it kind of simple. Thickness, although I guess one of the problems with using Sketch and Tune is the lines are going to be all the exact same width. Not something I was thinking about actively, but those are all the same width, which is not nearly as fun. So for right now, I'm not going to worry about the Sketch and Tune. I'm just going to sweep this with an end side. So let's go ahead and sweep it, put an end side in the sweep, and then put the helix in, T for scale on the end side, and we'll shrink those down. There we go. And now those are scaling to different thicknesses as well, and we're just going to make those a white material on top of it. And now we can get some different thicknesses. Yeah, I already like that better, and we're getting better feedback in the viewport. Right now, because they're all flat, we can make that have minimal points. We can grab our end side and give it more sides, which will round those out a little bit if that's indeed what we want. So we'll let those go like that. And then the burst happens. That's cool on the star. I'm going to set it to be a uniform subdivision. And I'm going to add in some imperfection here by on the star. I'm going to add a displacer, and let's go ahead and put on a noise. And you can see it's already displacing actually pretty nicely. But I'm going to go ahead and scale that up bigger. Nice. And now we can push the scale. Right now it's just straight up intensity, which actually intensity might be fine in this instance because we're treating it like it's two-dimensional, and it's a two-dimensional volume. So along those lines, I don't think the scale should be that big. So yeah, I'm going to do something more like that. And I'm fine with it messing up the star. I just wanted some more imperfection on there. So yeah, that's going to burst in a crazier way. And now that burst stops right around there. So I'm going to grab our displacer, and I'm going to keyframe the strength, and then we're going to rewind to the earlier point. We're going to go down to 0, so it can be a little bit more star-like in the beginning, and then it's going to burst all crazy. Boom. All right, it gets to this point, and okay, so that's where we are at this point, and I'm going to grab our helix, and we're going to keyframe that again, and now over the course of 2 frames, we're going to scale everything back down again. And on here, I guess we'll go over there. On the star, we're going to just go back down to, I guess usually in the anime blast, this would probably fade out to thin lines on the edge. Let's see, what's a good way to do that? I mean, we can loft the second shape on the inside, and then this one, this one could be smaller, and we could say no caps. So you can see I have a hole on the inside now. In fact, let me undo, not delete my keyframes. So I still got my keyframes. Let's turn off those holes so I can see through it. And I'm going to grab it. It is still there, but I'm going to grab it and I'm going to tell it that it should be smaller. Yeah, like that. Keyframe that. And now it should kind of chase it out. But I want it to be pretty small in the beginning. So I'm going to, let's see, how do we keyframe that? Right around there, it's going to show that. So that means earlier, only like a couple frames earlier, I'm going to have that star be 0, 0. So let's see, hopefully that works. If we turn on our loft, then that's solid. Let me pull that back a few frames. So it's going to burst outward, and then the hole will be introduced, and then we can kind of shrink those two into nothing by finishing out their scaling. So let's go and grab the final keyframe. I'm going to pull that out one more. And then here, I'm going to copy those keyframes, go to my inner one, paste it at this time, record it, and now what's happened, hopefully, yeah, let's drag both those out one more frame. Those are going to, it's going to burst, chase it behind, and then thin out to nothing. So you can see it just kind of bursts out and we get the final one fading. I just want this beginning one not to start until a little bit later. And when you're doing this kind of thing, like little single frames go a long way. Actually, it's pretty cool. Look, that's working well. Boom. Okay, so that's going to kind of burst out to nothing. And honestly, I think that when these were all covered up like this, we should probably grab our helix right around there and probably just scale it down to nothing. So we're going to have the height of that drop down to 0. Oops. Let's go here and scale the height down to 0. So let's see what we end up with there. And what's cool here is we're just getting perfect real-time feedback here. So let's see what we get. Oh, okay, that's actually pretty cool right away. We haven't saved yet, so that's a little dangerous. Let's go ahead and jump into episode 20. Scene, scene files, and oh yeah, the real bastard from last week, and that's his screen name. He kind of solved a problem I was having last week, and I wanted to pop his file open. I forgot. Anime Blast. So I can remember to pop that open real quick. So we got that nice boom, big burst. Now that's looking cool. I feel like these little lines, they're living too long. I think everything we have needs to go quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything. So actually, and let me make sure I'll scroll down because we need the displacers as well. They also have keyframes. I'm going to select all of our keyframes. I'm going to scoot everything back so that the burst will happen, but it's very quick. I don't want that living for a long time. Nice. Okay, I'm actually quite pleased with that. Now, of course, there's more. I mean, we could layer and layer and layer, and you can have extra particles and streaks and lines. Tons of stuff happening, but we're not going to worry about every single detail. In fact, that's pretty good already. I'm a little worried about doing the cartoony bursts. In fact, because we jumped into... I didn't end up using Signal. So you know what? I just saved this. Why don't we jump into R21, and I'm going to open up that same file, and we are going to use some of the new R21 features, which hopefully everybody's going to have access to around the beginning of September, which is usually when new versions of Cinema come out. But it's too good of an opportunity not to do it. So now we're in R21, and because I didn't use any plugins, I'm fine switching over to here. And I'm just doing this so that we can use some of the old school cinema particles and get a nice little burst going. So let's go ahead and... Actually, this could be a little trickier than I thought it would be. I'm also suddenly thinking I don't want to use the emitter, although I will still use some of the particle forces. It might be better to do this with like dynamic objects. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So here's my thought. We're going to make this three-dimensional. I'm going to make a sphere, and I'm going to change it to an icosahedron, and I'm going to turn it into a wireframe. Let's see, where does that live now? Presumably it's a camera tag, no. What kind of tags we got? Simulation, material, other tags, no. Sorry, some of the tags moved. I don't know all their new locations. Where would... Render tags. Render tags. There we go. Display. I'm going to tell it to show the line so we can kind of see the X-ray. Cool. Now I'm going to make a cloner. I'm going to make a cube. I'm going to put the cube in the cloner. T for scale. Scale the cube way down so it's something kind of reasonable. And now on the sphere, which I might change to a hemisphere. I haven't decided yet. Let's go and clone onto an object. The object will be the sphere. I can make sure that the sphere doesn't render. And you know what? I am going to set it to hemisphere, and we're going to hit R for rotate. And well, I'm going to take a quick peek at. Oh yeah, you see, we do see the sphere poke through here. So let's see. Let's see. We get the burst. Well, it starts on the bottom, and you get the very big spherical blast. I kind of want to center it a little bit more on the on this burst, but that might be okay. We might be able to put a floor on there as well. So if we made a plane for a floor, which is going to exist kind of below the blast, is that going to interfere with the explode? Yeah, I want it to kind of be below. I don't know. It might be a little tricky. I don't know. We can even try emulating a little bit closer. I usually like shifting things around a bit. But, and honestly, I'm completely winging this here. I don't have a great plan. But we could, I'm actually even kind of inclined to make this clone on the vertex so we have exactly a nice even distribution around here. So if we take our sphere, and I would love to put it right here in the center, but the way they're doing it, it's more on the ground. And if it's on the ground, I guess it would have to be near the ground but small. And then we're going to make all of our cube, we're going to make the cube, we're going to make it dynamic. So I'm going to add on a simulation rigid body. Actually, I'm going to put a simulation soft body, but right away I'm going to tell our soft body, I'm going to say, don't worry about self collisions. So now it's just kind of like the individual points of a cube, and that should just be taking care of itself. I'm also going to make a floor, and the floor I'm just going to kind of visually move down to, let's see, yeah, too far. I'm going to visually move it down to about where the other floor is, but that will also be dynamic. Let's make a material for the actual floor we're going to be looking at. That's all good. So I'm a little worried about what might happen when I hit play, so let's save it real quick as B. And right away, let's just see. I'm going to frame forward to make sure we're not getting anything too insane. Whoa, there they go. It does seem actually to be a little bit insane. It's already freaking out a little bit. Okay, I stopped it quick enough, but yeah, these are exploding in a very interesting way. Why are they? I said no self-collisions, so why are they exploding? Oh, self-collisions. Self-collisions. They are colliding. Oh my goodness. They're all different objects, which means they can collide with each other. I wasn't even thinking about that properly. So I'm going to put these all into a connect object, and now they're not welded, and now I put the dynamics tag on that. So now they're all being treated as the same object, which should fundamentally be very different, and I just need to see how quick it runs. I mean, well, gravity should be here. I'm going to lower our point count so we can just see this quicker. There we go. Okay, I feel relatively safe hitting save and hitting play here. Oh, even that's taking a little while. And they're exploding outward. I'm a little confused by that. So, unfortunately, I might have to ditch that aspect of it. I don't know. Don't apply to children. Individual elements off. They're one object. There we go. That's what I was expecting. Looks like they changed the defaults here for how a tag is applied to certain objects, and it seems like it changed the inherent tag to a setting I wasn't expecting. So yeah, there are some new defaults in version 21, so it's taking a little... I think they're good at new defaults. I just have to get used to them. So having done that, I think we're okay to jump this size up here. We'll get some more. And let's see. Now you can see I've got a whole bunch of those, and they're all completely fine. Boom. Nice. So now we're going to turn off gravity. Dynamics, no gravity. And what is our plan here? Well, honestly, I'm not sure. I'm totally winging it here. So we're just trying to get a cool burst going here. So my thought is, let's go ahead and of course we're going to be using the new forces field force, and the new field force is a way of, I don't even know how to describe it. We add in lots of different. It's like making a vector field that makes things travel. Now I'm going to create this little preview box. We got X, Y, Z. I'm going to set C down to 0, and let's go ahead and give. I'm going to feed it something like a spherical field. So now you can see we've got this nice little fall off. And you see I'm doing this little cross section. Normally the spherical field would be displaying in 3 dimensions, but you see that becomes like kind of big and noisy. I really love viewing it 2-dimensionally like this, and it just kind of gives you a cross slice of what's happening. So by adding in this spherical field, you can see that I'm not sure if all these are pulling in or out, so let's go ahead and hit play, and it's pulling up. So this is now an attractor for all purposes. You see it's pulling out, and then in, and so it's just kind of a fun little attractor setup. Now, I actually want these to be negative, so I'm going to go to the direction. I'm going to say invert direction. Let's go ahead and grab our spherical field, and I'm going to pull it down here. And I think I want pretty near the top of that circle, but not completely at the top, not in the center either. So what should hopefully happen here now is, let's see, what do we got? I have gravity turned off, so why are they falling down? Invert direction. Do I have gravity off? Gravity 0. Spherical field. Yeah. Why are they falling down? It's negative, so I would think that would push half of them upward. Okay. Whee. It seems real sensitive. Also, a couple things. Let's see. I want a couple things we gotta do. Let's give it a lot of strength. So it's pretty strong. Pretty much full strength from the beginning. We can maybe do a fade out. I want this to be a lot stronger, so under direction we can go to our scale, and I can start like doubling, tripling. Let's do 5 times the scale. So now there's a lot of power there. It's pushing everything out. We've got our cubes here. They are seemingly scaling up in an interesting way. I'm going to go ahead and go to our soft body. I'm going to say, they're all a single object, so I can't add stiffness. But we can keep the structural pretty high. So I'm going to leave a high structural value, which should force their scale to be maintained a little bit better. But I have to say, I'm a little bit thrown off. I'm doing something weird and silly here, because I would think that these are... I don't understand why they're falling downward, why any of them are falling downward. Like if I center, everything seems to push up. But based on the vector field, I would think that these would explode out in all directions. That should push down. Let me check the chat. Well, we still got lots of people coming and hanging out. Thanks, everybody. But let's go ahead. Yeah, why is some of this happen? First of all, I'm going to make a null. And let's grab our other effects, which are already working well. I'm just going to hide them. We don't need to be worrying about them. We've got our spherical field pushing in all directions. Inverted the direction. We got the scale. It's pushing. Why? That's so weird. I don't trust it. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to go to our overall field. I'm going to add a solid, and the solid is X, Y, Z, so this is all currently pushing up. So that means the entire thing should travel upward. That's fine. And then if we make a spherical field again, everything's going to be traveling upward. That could be fun. Let's go ahead and set the normal. I'm going to set this to add. We're going to go to our sphere again. Let's go ahead and give it strong power. Invert the direction. Strengthen it up to 500, so everything should push up and out, but still pushes down. And all we've got is the spherical field. So weird. Yeah, it's strange. Now this, right now we're currently adding to velocity. We can just say, well, we can't say absolute velocity. Man, this circle burst is proving a little trickier than I thought. I mean, that's sort of what I was going for, but that's because I happen to have it right in the middle. And I'd want gravity pushing down, not up. We'll grab our solid, say travel negative. We can have the spherical field be stronger still. Fun, but weird. I mean, it's kind of a weird shockwavy thing. I don't know. I don't want to spend too long on that. So even though I'm not getting the burst that I want at all, I want to be able to hit more questions. So let me see if I can balance that a little bit more. Whoa, that gets weird. Nope. Proving very, very sensitive. I feel like it's somehow applying to all of the objects simultaneously. Well, there's something. All right, so we're just going to go with that. So it's going to be our little burst. So boom. Now we don't actually technically want that to start until like 15 frames in or something. So I'm going to turn off the dynamics. It's not even going to be dynamic. I think we can turn it on. So it's off, and then we can unhide the rest of our stuff. We get a nice little burst. That happens, and right around now, maybe even 1 frame earlier, I'm going to say that the dynamic should turn on. So 1 frame earlier, dynamics off. 1 frame later, dynamics on. And with them being on, I just want to make sure that they do burst out. Boom. Okay, they do. Okay, cool. So that's all bursting out, and it's looking fine. Now here's going to be a tricky part, which is I want to use some volumes here, but I want it to run relatively quickly for us. Let's hide our field force, and I'm going to create a volume builder. And the volume builder can act a little weird with dynamics. So let's go ahead and see if it is going to behave weird for us. Okay, it did refresh. So it's hard to tell. Let's go ahead and build a mesher. We'll drop that in. Okay, it does indeed. It's making our blob. And then inside the builder, we can go ahead and put a smooth. I do like the smooths, but they do tend to be overpowering. But do something like that. I can put a post smooth as well. I don't know how well it's going to. Yeah. See, here's what I thought. It's not gonna refresh here when we play. So I think we might need to cache it. Now this animation, it's already pretty short. So I'm just gonna say cache, bake all. Now hopefully this works. I have had trouble with this in the past. So that should be scrubbable now. So if we turn on our builder and volume, is it working? Unfortunately, oh no, is it going? No, you see, when I refresh, I have had this problem happen where it's not doing it unless it gets to refresh in a different way. You see, I have to like mouse around the viewport. So I don't trust it. So let's try sending out to the picture viewer. I'm going to just say all frames, even though we only need a couple. Actually, yeah, we only need like 30 frames. So let's see if that actually renders. I'm going to go ahead and just put a material on there. So it's just going to sit there like a dead blob, but let's see if it renders. Yeah, it does render. It's a little slow, but that's not bad actually. It's better than I thought it would be. So it renders correctly, even though it's not. Showing in the viewport, which is something that can be a little frustrating, but it's just something that happens. And you see it will refresh, but not in real time. Now I probably would make a smoothing deformer. Smooth, 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 smooth. Blind. I'm sure it's here. I just don't see it. Bend balls. See, they're not even alphabetical, so it doesn't work. Smoothing. All right, so I put that into the mesher. And we can just put on whatever amount of smoothing we want. Makes it nice and curvy. And I'm going to make a second material on there. Now we could maybe make some sort of nice cartoony shader. There's a lot of different sketch and toony type stuff you can do, but I'm going to try and do a simple version here where we can do something like create a fall off. I can create a fall off shader, and then you can see right away, it's like, okay, cool, fall off shader. It's based on the angle. So if we give this an angle, like something like that, then it's going to give us like a little bit of perspective, and it's automatically giving us all this like for real dimension. I want to make a relatively light gray, and I want to set these knots. I'm going to select both knots. I'm going to say they are step based. So now we do something like that, and we should get a cartoonier kind of outline. And you know, we have possibilities of adding up multiple different things here. I could take that layer, or you take that fall off and then put into a second version of it. I can say I want to darken, and on this one I'm going to make that go on the opposite direction. And now you can see it's going to be shady on both sides, but on this one, let's have it be a little bit more vertically oriented. I'm going to pull back on that. And in fact, I'm going to temporarily, what's the value of that? 49. I'm going to temporarily make it darker so we can distinguish between the two. So you can see, let's go even darker. So you can see that I've got this darker shadow there. So I'm going to pull back on this, and you can see it's okay, it's appearing there. I'm just trying to get a good angle on it. Let's say -1. There we go. So you can see I got a little bit more shadow there. Let's emphasize the verticalness. So now you see this deeper shadow there. I want to push it more on the left side. So there, it's pushing more. And this is just kind of like an absolute direction. Yeah, there's a little bit more shadowing there, maybe 3. Yeah, there we go. You can see it's filling that out a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and redarken this to the same value, 49. And now the two are darkening each other. And now you can see I get a more complex shadow wrapping around it. And it's just kind of perfectly alphaed from one to the next. Now that's all on top of the idea of also potentially, I mean, I don't know if it was in the reference. Well, actually, yeah, in the reference you can see there is, and there's a lot of post effect here where there's glows and whatnot. I'm not going to worry about any of that. But you can see we get a little bit of these shadow, the curvature. I mean, we can add some curvature in here as well. Inside of our layer shader, we can go and add a Fresnel as well. So add in this Fresnel, and once again, let's grab both of those. And I'm going to set those to be step-based. Let's grab our dark one and also set it to our same 49. Currently it's overriding everything, so let's go ahead and invert our gradient and find a nice fall off. There we go. So now you can see, actually this should be pretty good. If we do something like that, you see we get all these shading kind of on a particular angle. But now I can say screen, and now it should brighten those up, and now you can see it starts implying this curvature a little bit more. And if we kind of dial in that ratio super perfectly, then we can see more or less of it. But that's going to be good enough for what I want to do specifically on that shading. And if we wanted to outline it, then it should be fairly trivial. Let's go ahead and make a relatively light gray line color. Actually, we do that same 49. The thickness is probably way too thick, so let's go ahead and drop it down to 5. I'm going to go ahead and apply it here, and we just need to, well, let's see what the default does. Actually, the default's not bad. You get these nice little outlines. Folds might give a little more detail internally if we want that. Outline is usually a pretty good one just for getting your full cartoony outline. You can see our thickness is pretty thick, and based on the color, it's not standing out too much, but I was going for something a little subtle. If we make it black, then boom, you can super thickly see it. You can see how everything's kind of these little harsh straight lines. Something I like doing is jumping into our strokes, and this can get a little tricky, but I like trying to connect them more specifically. So I like changing them so the points can connect more easily. And then we can go into distort. I'm going to curve the stroke, set it to something really smooth. B-spline is the smoothest. Turn off noise. And now we should be, you see this line suddenly became really smooth because we're telling it to really try and interlink with its neighbors and then smooth it out after the fact. So you get this nice, really smooth line. And if we want, we can add in this noise, and you get all these little imperfections on top of it. You can use, there's two cool ways of using this distortion. One would be a really big noise. So if we make this really large, and we do a lot of displacement, then we can really push the lines off of the surface. So let's not go too far, but yeah, you can see I can make it so the lines aren't perfectly on the object, and that can be pretty cool. The other would be going the opposite way, which is making the scale really tiny. And then you can start adding in all these tiny little zigzags. And if we go pretty subtle on it and make the scale really small, you can start making like these tiny little sketchy imperfections. So stylistically, depending on what you're going for, those can both be really fun options. I'm going to go with the bigger, curvier one, but I'm going to go relatively subtle on it. So the scale needs to be up on like 200, 2000. Okay, yeah, 2000. And we'll jump this down to something so it's a little wiggly, but not too wiggly. So yeah, I don't want it perfectly on it, but a little bit. Go back to color. Let's go back to our same 49%, or I guess this is supposed to be 49% there. So now it should just kind of blend on the edges. So okay, cool. That's essentially that's as far as I'm going to go here. So let's go ahead and save that again. I mean, the ground was good, but I'm just going to tell it not to render. I don't want to see the ground. I just want it affecting it. So we get this nice gray background. So we're not going to be able to see it here. Let's go ahead and I don't expect the smoke and everything else to line up too well, but let's just render this out. And then I'm going to move on to another question. So if you, oh, we don't want those existing for the first few frames. So let's make sure that for until about frame 22, we don't see it. So I'm going to stop it. So around frame 22, I'm just gonna turn off the visibility. It's a cheap way of doing it. Frame 22 is when we start seeing it. So I'm gonna rewind one frame. I'm gonna say off, off. It's not really gonna have the burst power I want it to. I'd love to remap this. I wonder if we could. I do want to wrap this one up, but I would love to bake this as a lembic and then retime it. That would be really cool. In fact, why don't we do that? I'm going to not worry about the animation. Back to default. Let's try baking this to Alembic. So I'm going to save it, right click on our volume mesh. We'll take the final mesh here. I'm going to say bake as Alembic. It's going to chug through the entire scene. But the hope is that that just becomes like a really nice final mesh. So if I were to completely hide all of our original stuff, we've now got this volume mesher. I never know if this is going to work or not. Unfortunately, no. It decided this particular one was not going to cooperate. There's always, like, if I put this entire thing into connect object, maybe it will. I've had some successes, some not. I'm going to undo a few times. Let's get the visibility back again. It seems like that is where that came in. Is it? Basic? No, doesn't seem to be. That's fine. Oh, and we lost the bake. That's lame. Bake all. I'm not sure what killed it. Maybe undoing. But anyway, it's easy to rebake it. And boom, rebaked. I'm just going to animate the visibility again. So back to frame 22. Yes, I want to see it. Rewind one frame. No, I don't want to see it. I'm not sure when this ends, so we'll just render out the entire thing. We get our bursts. That goes, and then nothing. Whoa, whoa. Wait. Why did that... I suddenly remembered that we changed our frames to 15 frames per second and still rendering out at 30 frames a second. That seems to be confusing the bake. Bursts, and then it seems like we were only rendering out to frame 30. Let's go up to the full 100. Luckily, this renders so quick. Imagine if this was a big, long, complicated render, and you're like, oh no, I didn't change the frame rate correctly. Wow, that is... Did I type the frame rate? I typed the frame rate up to 100. Sorry, I mixed those numbers up. Silly mistake. All right. I was like, why is it taking so long to render? It's going so slow. Wow, the burst is being really weird, so I'm just going to let it exist the entire time because I want to move on to another question. So let's turn that off. Back to default, back to default. We can just do what it wants to do because we just kind of were getting some of the ideas. Yeah, I thought that didn't start animating out until a few frames later, but it's going to look all weird, but we can just pretty much say that this burst will, I mean, essentially the explosion would keep going, but the effect we did only went up to about frame 23. So let's stop that from rendering, and we're only going to go up to 23. So this is kind of our end result. I would want to spend a lot more time doing more. There's a little... with this not showing up in the viewport very well, and there's things I think we could do to fix it, get a proper alembic bake or get the right order of operations. But one of the problems here is that it's looking very 3D because of this very perfect continuity. So what I always do with this kind of thing, and you even saw me do it here, is I just add in the displacer. Adding in the displacer adds in all these imperfections along the edge, and it makes it look not 3D because it's so imperfect. So like this burst right there, maybe that's okay, but I would want to add in some distortion in the material getting applied, and then in these places having a bunch of distortion so that these are wiggling around all over the place would go a really long way for that looking a lot crazier. This is probably silly, but I'm going to grab the loft, I'm going to just steal that displacer and put it in here. And we're not going to see the preview in the viewport, so I don't even know what the scale of that looks like. I'm going to do it after the smoothing. So it's just gonna add that in, and I'm going to. It's got a noise, but I'm gonna give it a. It's got a big scale, but I'm gonna give it a really big speed. So yeah, okay. So now you get like that weird blob and whatnot. So this could look terrible because we did not get the test of the scale. But you can already see how it's wiggling around all crazy. But now by having it burst out all crazy like that, you can see all that extra crazy random motion we're getting. That's completely unart directed. Let's assume we're still ending on about frame 23, 24. So now we add in all those imperfections. Yeah, that's actually seems to have calculated very quickly this time. Now it is ending on 22. Oh, 22. Boom. So you can start getting a lot more imperfection. It's a little strong and it's not very directional. And yeah, it's blobbing skinny and tall there, but just some more randomness in there and introducing a lot of extra lines. Them all blinking in and out of existence isn't helping either. I guess going to maybe frame 19. Yeah, it's something. Not amazing, but doing those kind of fun tricks is neat. Everybody, start getting questions again. I'm not going to be able to get up to the other questions, so post again. And I'm going to see if I can find. I'm going to see if I can find some of the kind of anime style tests I had been doing. I don't know if I'll be able to find them, but C4D. Is it Sketch and Tune or FX? Cartoony renders. Oh, I did find them. So, okay, I was trying to do this kind of thing, and you're going to see some progression here where some of them are okay and some are worse. So I was a little bit inspired by water bending from Avatar, The Last Airbender. And you're going to see, like, so this was, you're going to go by quick, but it's like, okay, here's one test. Wish that didn't go full screen. I missed the Mac previews. So then you can see, okay, like there, a little bit more of a turn. And one of the goals here, you'll see if I kind of scrub through, is adding tons of randomness frame by frame, so you don't see overly strong continuity between them, but you can still feel the overall motion. And some of these are going to be better or worse successes than others. Yeah, okay, that one's okay. So you can see, yeah, spending a bunch of time and doing some really funky animation to make things burst and swirl and change. So the morphing happens and letting like the lines just bleed into each other. Oh, that's a quick one. Yeah, trying to get like a sideways splash going. You see how quick it goes, but so you can see on any given frame, like that's that's a pretty neat looking frame, and these are all parametric, vanilla materials from Cinema, and then making using alpha material. So it's all right. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, the trick here is trying to make it not look 3D, trying to make it look hand drawn. So in certain frames, like okay, like I can kind of see it, but yeah, it's just R&D, and some stuff is fun. Ponyo, yep. Let's see, we got some more links going. Hi, everybody. If anybody just joined us, we are doing links. I'm going to be doing a raffle a little bit later. Well, I guess it's not a raffle. I'm going to be selecting one person at random, and they're going to win Cinema 4D R21, 1 year. A very generous donation from Maxon for this live stream. And so in order to get it, you're going to have to be participating in the chat. And you'll have to be here when I do the announcement. I'm not sure exactly when that will be. But I want to do some more questions. Fun question. How do you make this dynamic dance in C4D Live? Soft body balls are also good and fun. The balls are fairer to win than the collected names that occur most often to win. Oh, for the randomizing. Oh, yeah. This is like doing a lottery machine type of thing. So I'm going to go with my randomize the name idea for chat participation. But if we did get every single person's name and apply it to a sphere and then run dynamics on it and then pull the numbers out like a lottery, but I'm trying to do something that's fun or fast and quick. But let me see if there's, like, what's the actual mechanism here? Is they all just kind of bounce around? What makes them, why is it jumping? Where's the actual moment? Why is it not finish? This is a very strange little video. I don't see that. I don't think this link is working because at no point in this video does it show one of the balls get sucked up the tube. So I can't figure out what the mechanism is. And then this lady just starts talking. So I can't do this link. Let's see. Scott, how would you make a large dynamic sheet of these that don't deform but also move like chainmail? Ooh. Let's see. We're heading on to Substance. Substance 3D. Ooh, man, look at these. So yeah, somebody made a crazy displacement procedural material in Substance, which is neat. But your idea is, how do you make something like this that is kind of mechanical? That was kind of weird how it loaded. I just wanted to see the 2D. Yeah, here. So yeah, the idea being, if we did make a sheet of these, they should be able to move. You know, we actually did this in the old live streams. We built a very complex series of connectors that sort of made it happen. The dynamics don't like the double layering. The dynamics don't like these connectors fighting each other. So yeah, we had done it and we made them interlock, and the trick goes into, to be perfectly honest, I would not even want to, you're saying not to have them bend, but honestly, having them bend or not bend is, how do I say this? The dynamics, the rigid body, it ends up being, okay, I'm organizing my thoughts. So if you have a series of rigid body triangles that are physically there, then one triangle is interlinking with the next triangle. But the way dynamics work is, I think, is one calculates and the next calculates and the next calculates. And as these are all interlinked, you start getting this cascading effect where one affects the next, which affects the next, which affects the next, which eventually affects the original. And you get this feedback loop where everything wants to explode. So that just kind of fundamentally dead ends. So what I'm inclined to do here would be something like making this polygon, and we can start subdividing it. Now we have all these very nice even triangles. I'm going to keep it relatively low poly here. I think these are, I'm not sure if they are identical triangles or not. We have different heights and widths. Is it identical? And B and G. Oh, yeah, top view. So display, we need to be on wireframe, and H we need as well. Yeah, those seem stretched out to me. So these actually have to be pinched in a little bit. I'm just eyeballing this, but those are approximately perfect triangles. So what I would be inclined to do is instead just run some soft body on something like this, and then clone your shape onto the individual polygons. So let's see if we can get something kind of reasonable working. So I'm going to turn off gravity. So let's go to Command or Control D, gravity 0. And we are soft body. There's very few objects here, so that should be fine. Structural, very important. Structural is the parameter that's making it so that the length from one corner to another doesn't change. But what we do want is, and then shear is the ability for something to twist. So I don't know if we want any shear, but what we do want is lots of flexion. I think that's where they can actually properly bend. So I don't know what we're going to end up with here, but let's go ahead and try. Hopefully it works a little bit better this time. I'm going to try making another field force. And let's go ahead and make just kind of an attractor setup. So I'm going to T for scale. And let's go into our field force. And let's display the entire thing and make it way bigger. I'm going to jump it to 1,000. 1,000, 1,000, 0. Cross section. Okay. So everything's kind of pulling inward. So let's see if these all sort of get pulled towards the center. Yes and no. Give ourselves a bunch more frames. And the structural is okay. The shear, I wonder if shear is going to stop us. So I'm going to also put 0 shear. And this is a soft body, right? Yeah, it is. So let's add in some random. So I'm going to grab our random field, or our field force. I'm going to add in a random field. There we go. That's what we need, a little imperfection. And I'm going to scale it up a little bit. So here's the idea. You can see how they're all crinkling. Actually, they do a pretty good job. I thought shear would stop it from working, but maybe because of triangles they work. You can now see that everything's like compressing in pretty well, but look how the triangles are actually being maintained pretty well. So I'm going to go into our, let's go into our dynamics, and we've got damping. That's going to drain energy out from it. That's good. Let's try draining a lot of energy out, and let's also go to our forces, and we're already draining some linear and angular, but I'm going to drain like a lot of energy out, so we're going to be constantly adding new energy. I want to stop all these, like these outer ones from flipping out. Now, they just seem to want to flip out. Now, of course, we are just kind of compressing, so that might be reasonable. But honestly, that's kind of like, that's working pretty well. So then it just turns into properly cloning, which I guess is that's not a trivial feat. How do we clone onto this the right shape? So I'm going to make, I guess we'll make another triangle. And we do need the ratio. So, I'm just going to copy and paste that one, not dynamic, not subdivided, T for scale, scale it way down. So now we want essentially one triangle. And now let's see if we can figure out via just alternating triangles if we can clone this onto our surface. So I'm going to say I want it to clone to an object. The object will be that surface. I want to clone onto a polygon center, and let's go ahead and transform the rotation. Yeah, 90. Let's try negative 90. Not bad. And okay, the orientations can get weird with this kind of stuff. So let's try putting 90 there, 90 here. There we go. It's a little better. 90, 90. That's pretty dang close actually. Now it's polygon center, but you see how all these seem like they're a little weirdly off. So what I'm going to do is put that into a null, and we're going to grab the shape and scoot it on one of these axes. There we go. That one. There we go. That actually worked right away. I don't know if they're going to stick perfectly, but let's see if we can make them stick. I want to make these of little volume, so I'm going to go into, where does it hide? Is it still here? Dynamics particles. I don't think so. I wanted to find their cloth surface. New places for everything. Let's just give that a little thickness. Something like that. This is not perfect by any means. In fact, why don't we go ahead and tell the cloner to offset these all on one of these axes. I never know which one it is, so I just tend to guess. There we go. We'll just have those sink down through there a little bit. And we haven't made a fancy model yet, but let's just see if those stick. And indeed they do. So now you can see that we're getting all of the effects, and it's all bending, and those are static shapes, and we're still getting the ability for it all to collapse. And not only that, it's running incredibly quickly. So I am actually quite pleased with the way this effect is going in general. So yeah, at this point it just turns into that. This all seems good. Why don't we make this editable? In fact, we haven't saved this yet, which I definitely should have. To a triangle cloth. Okay, I'm gonna make it editable, and we're going to go to our very specific polygon here. I'm going to grab our cloner and physically move it up into the air, trying to go to 100 units. So now that should be up in the air, but when I'm working on it on polygons, we'll see the polygons living up here, but they're still cloned in the proper spot. So let's see, I'm going to grab edge mode. Let's go ahead and grab our edges. Sorry, the camera's being a little funky here. Camera. Okay, so we got all those. I hit MF to subdivide twice. So now we get 2 cuts per. And then, I'm going to turn off the cloning for a second. Because how does this shape ultimately work? Let me look at the reference again. Peg, out, peg. I don't, it almost seems like every other one. I'm not sure what the pattern is because I was going to say, because they're triangles, if we go and we extrude out one side and it like interconnects to the next one, how does that work? Because if you can see it right there, I'm going to select all 3 edges. If I extrude them out, you can see all of them are go out and then they're going to kind of connect. But if one is supposed to kind of interlock into the opposite one, how does that pattern work with a triangle? In my head, I think it has to be like 2 different ones, one that has a pattern of 2 and one that has a pattern of 1. That could get complex really quickly. I can make a, I don't have any faith that this will work, but the idea I think is that like this one we can extrude that out, but then 2 of these we extrude in. This tiny little thing. So I'd extrude those inward, but of course our polys look all funky. Hide the other one too. So I'd want to delete that thing. I keep on, if I ever select not exactly in this object, I go spinning off from that thing. Delete that, and now I can hit MD, close polygon hole, down here, delete, MD, close polygon hole. There we go. Now we got a kind of consistent shape. And then we hide, so that's where the peg exists. I'm going to hide that one and then do this one. And now we sort of do the opposite, where these 2 are extruded outward, and then this one's extruded in. Now this is, I am just completely guessing here. It's a complete random shot in the dark, so I don't actually think this is going to work. But we'll give it a try. Delete that, and now I close the holes. MD, bottom hole, close top hole. There we go. We got 2 different patterns, and they are kind of the mirror of each other. So now it should alternate between every other one. And yeah, well, right away, yeah, you can see where this pattern is probably more complex because you see on any given one, let me hide the original mesh, you can see how like this peg would properly interlink with that one, and that's there, but these 2 collide with each other. And then this one is correct, but that one's wrong. So I don't know what the actual final proper pattern is. So there might be like a pattern of 6 that needs to exist in a sequence in order for them to loop. Now, a trick we've done in the past, what we did last time was we modeled it in a way where it kind of didn't matter. I would like to get to another question, a couple more questions. So I don't want to go and just essentially like we've already done, as far as I'm concerned, the complicated part. Now we just have the tedious part. Like how do we figure out the looping pattern between them? And honestly, it goes into going on to like shapeways and finding, because this is a real type of physical 3D pattern you can print, looking at original source material, seeing what the mechanisms for them actually are. And letting that happen. I think another thing we've done in the past, which was actually a decently viable way, I'm not going to overly do it, but the idea is if we make a cylinder, and I'm going to go to one height segment, and we want this to be really low poly, so I'm going to put down the 6. Caps are welded, they're set to 1, T for scale this way down. If we make another cloner, and this cloner is going to clone on the same object, but this time it's cloning onto edges. Now I'm in the middle of the edge. If I get my orientation correct, which I think will be Z+, nope, X+, there we go. If we clone, yeah, there we go. If we clone this cylinder, and let's tell it not to offset. Oh, and the rotations were off because these were set to 1990. That's why I bet it was supposed to be Z. Good old Z plus. Nope, now it's Y plus. Go figure. Anyway, if we made our radius pretty tiny, then what we do is we make this little cylinder that sort of just exists in between all of them, and then our two shapes interlock into that one. You kind of get like this freebie edge shape cloned in between, and it's kind of like a way of working around it. But having said all of that, this becomes, that's kind of our final mesh. If I play, these are just clones that are going on top of it, and you get a really nice mechanical thing collecting on top of itself. Honestly, it's looking even better than I thought it would. Like, that's pretty nice. These will all go in. There might be a way, I'm trying to think if there would be a way of stopping it from bending too far. Like, this would work really well if you're just going to drop it on the shape. In fact, let's just go ahead and make a sphere. I'm going to put a collider body on it. So let's go simulation collider body. I'm going to turn off the field force, and let's turn gravity back on again. Right click to set it to default. That should just fall, and it's going to like fall on the object and wrap around, and it's going to work pretty well. The more stiffness that we have and the more steps per frame, the more it's going to stop it from stretching. But you can see that it's like, look at these bends. The bends happen right where the triangles are, because that's literally all of the geometry. Now, having said all that, we still have a little bit of a trick of, we might be able to put like a margin on this, but if it bends too far, you can see they start like passing through each other, so you'd have to give it like a maximum amount of distance it can bend. And I am not sure about the ways of doing that. It could be, save this as B. It goes to the idea of going to expert, and we have these different collision margins. If we add in the proper amount of collision margin, then we might be able to stop it, although I think it might also explode things out. And I just don't even have any idea of what the number would be. But if we can start cranking it up. Oh yeah, see that, well, something I just did definitely made it kind of expand outward. Now, oh yeah, okay, it's so big that the individual polygons are too close to each other, so it's making them all explode outward. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but a lot of it just goes to like making sure that the way they fall down is stiff enough. There's no way of making the individual joints bend properly, but I don't know. You might be able to clone a series of spheres on something to make sure they don't bend. I don't know. But I feel like this is a quick and dirty method that's going to get you a lot of the way there, where, like the idea of this being able to just collapse, and this big margin is not helping us. But yeah, this can just collapse on and do these shapes and be looking like they're interlocking. Why not? I'm quite pleased with that. That works well. So let's do another question. Let's see. We are at 3:20. We usually go to 4 o'clock. What kind of questions do we have? Self collisions. I mean, I guess. Oh, we did turn off self collisions, didn't we? Or did we? I don't remember. It's not really going to change much, but no, self collisions are still turned on there. I know I usually turn them off, but we did not turn them off this time. But it could be that you put a certain amount of stiffness. I mean, you can't do pressure. Yeah, I'm not sure about how I would do it. Maybe, I mean, I guess what I'd probably end up doing is like putting a whole bunch of spheres on the different polygons and then linking them via a fixed connector, and then they couldn't pass through each other. But the cloth and the fixed connected object, they might have to be a spring, wouldn't be seeing each other because they ignore each other's collisions. But that's an insane amount of work to make it behave, where you kind of get all of this for free. Go ahead and post your link again if I didn't see it already. I'm trying to see if see if there's any questions are outside of it. First question, please. Chad was saying he was the first question, but I'm not seeing your question here again. So Chad, if you're there, go ahead and post your question again, and I'll check it out. I don't know if I'll be able to do it or not. Let's see. Yes, Crossrader, thank you. If you're not already in the Rocket Lasso Slack, go to rocketlassoslack.com, and you can keep the conversation going there, even in our season break. Let's see. Let's see if Chad gets back here with a link. It doesn't look like he's responding very quickly, so possibly not. Check the reference. I mean, the reference is a texture, so I don't know how accurate that would be. So I'm not seeing that link pop up again. So Dan, you have a link. How would you rig hard coral growth? That sounds dangerous. Let's see what we got. Oh, what's happening here? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we got crazy time lapse. First of all, this is some footage, presumably from Peter Cragg. I think it's Cragg. Blah, 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 blah. Wee. Yeah, these are constantly spitting in and out. I mean, is it? Yeah, it's pretty fractally. That's a crazy part there. Like this is a complicated fractal thing. I mean, yeah, this is the shot. I'm not worried about those little noodles. I'm just looking at the rigid coral. Even though it's not rigid, super rigid, you can almost see it breathing there. But yeah, look at the fractal way it grows. Because it grows out really flat, and then you can just kind of see these new layers emerge. Or suddenly it's like, oh, some new nubbins, and they just kind of pull out of nowhere. Honestly, I'd probably do it with X particles, where you just have it growing like a tree, and then you just have the branches start coming out, and you feed the entire thing into. I mean, honestly, we might be able to do it. Let's jump into R20 where we have X particles, and they even have all their presets now, but the oh man, even the basic thing here is going to take a little while. Is that something I want to do? I'm not sure. And then the tricky part that I would love to see there, but I just don't know how you possibly do it, would be those amazing materials or the texture, like the little stripes on the edge. I just don't not sure how I would go about doing that. It's very organic, but if we how do we even do this? If we make a tracer. Yeah, let's add an XP trail. So now it's going to be tracing those particles. And then we add in an X particle generator, right? Where is it? My brain is so not on XP branch. So XP branch is the one I'm after. So yeah, those are all going to be doing their thing. Now I want only a single one. So let's go ahead and emits from 0, 0 on Y plus. And I want a shot of one particle. So now hopefully we get boop, one little particle flying. And then on our XP branch, we can start adding on branches. We start adding on sub branches. And really, it's not sub branches, just sub branch. And now the number of branches is, like, I don't know what we saw there, but let's just say something like 8 branches. Now we're going to tell, so it's 8 branches, branch deviation, in fact, very uniform. So we'd say like a max and min of 30. And then on the sub branch, the max length would be very uniform. So it'd be somewhere between, I don't know, 5 and 6, or I guess it's 6 and 5. So you start getting something like this going. So those all start spreading out. Number of branches, max branches, min deviation. It doesn't seem like there's any particular way of stopping them from. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way of angling them a little bit better. There probably is, but I don't want to spend. Yeah, distribution. I don't know if that's a thing. Definitely not. And now, right now, everything's going very quickly. We'd probably want it to be branch in every 5 frames. I'd say, like, let's branch in every, if we're slowing it way down, like every 55 frames. Give ourselves a lot more keyframes here. Branch in every 55 frames. And now these little sub-branches can live longer. This is going to be traveling up very quickly, so let's slow that down. Set the speed to 50. Let that start traveling upward, and then those grow, and now we want those to grow as well, but nice and slowly. So those can grow for like 25 and 20. And it should be the same speed, right? But it seems like they should spread out longer. XP branch, branch in. Where is the general? Yeah, here's how long they live. I want this original branch to live forever. So that one's going to keep on traveling. Those will grow out, and then they'll grow out, and then they'll grow out. Now, this is not perfect by any means. In fact, I think I want those to live longer. And that gets ahead of it, so that's the tricky part. I almost want this to happen more than once, and the second the pass does it, slowing everything down. These should live for longer, 55 and 45. Let those grow out as the main one continues. So you can kind of see the idea of what I'm going for here. And then based on that, let's go ahead and save it. XP Coral. Just because I love cinemas, we're going to go ahead and use our volume builder on our XP trail. So I'm going to feed the volume builder the XP trail. And is that going to be treated as a spline? What's there? Oh yeah, but okay, yeah, density of 1, radius of 5. Drop our voxel size down to 5, hit play. So yeah, even here you can see what we need to do is put multiple branches in where, let's see, I'm going to make a second emitter. I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to make a second emitter, and I'm going to tell it to modifier modifier exclude. I'm going to say include. So only include if it's there. So my hope here is that this is not being affected by the branching. Let me make sure. So yeah, this one is not being affected by anything. And now I'm going to tell it to, yes, indeed be affected by the trail. So hopefully, oh no, we need a second trail. That's what we need. I'm going to make a second trail. And this emitter will exclude the new one. And this one will include the new one. So now we can have two different branches. And hopefully, I didn't do anything fancy. So this is just a second emitter. Is that a deformer or effector? How do we make it trace it? Oh, it's not tracing it. Unless it is, and we're just not seeing it. I should build a system or a group right now. The trail, oh, it sees an emitter. Okay, that's how we do it. We just say, see this emitter. There we go. Simple. I thought that came in deformer. Okay, so my hope is that those are behaving the exact same way. So we have two emitters and two different ones growing. Do we? Are they travel? I want those two emitters, these two first particles, to travel the same path, which of course they're not. Dang it. Why are they not? They're being fed the same thing, but maybe the deviation, the branch deviation. Yeah. I'm trying to do a quick, which might not be helping our case, but let's go ahead and try and include that modifier. Do it, do it. Nope, they're doing their own thing. They seem to get a unique seed applied, so they're not traveling the exact same way. Undo. Up. Well, actually, I have it. No, that won't work either. Dang, it was. The point being is I was going to just feed in two, and this first one could get a thicker spline applied to it. So you can see the general idea of the effect happening here. We just need this first spline, and I was just trying to do it as quick as possible, but of course that didn't work, and I'd need to set up a more complicated rig, and I don't want to spend more time on this one. But we could definitely fatten these up. You'd have these start growing out, and if this middle tube, which I don't have a spline for, but if this middle tube was twice as thick, I feel like we'd be getting a pretty decent effect. You can see we get that pretty nice growth overall with the way that is working. Something that would be kind of fun and I'd be curious about, which I'm not going to spend time on now, but if we actually had it so that each of these particles had like a piece of geometry on it, let's say they had a end side, and this end side was tiny and traveling along with it, and that end side was being traced. So if we made a tracer And right now, if I were to grab this and start moving it, you see we're tracing those trails. If we then used those trails that were being traced along every one of those lines, and we fed them through a material, like use like a proximal, like could we make these nice little stripy lines that would be independently traveling along each object? Like that'd be pretty cool. But that's where my head's at on that. I don't think it's not going to be difficult to thicken up that middle part, but because we can't go super detailed and complicated with it, that's as far as I'm going to go for right now. Back to the chat, scrolling down. 3:30. We got about a half hour, everybody. Let's see. Go ahead and post a link again if I haven't already seen it. I did want to go through real quick. Hopefully, everybody knows that on Rocket Lasso, I've got the YouTube channel. And on the YouTube channel, not only have we been posting these episodes, but we've also been posting tutorials. So I've got the first one with Aaron Covret on doing photogrammetry, which is really fun. And I have the collapsing round one, and I just made the R21 breakdown video. I've got lots of other ideas, lots of plans, and I've even been working on this other ribbon-based tutorial for dynamics, trying to come up with lots of different things. Make sure you're following me on YouTube to be getting that content, but I just want to throw out there that your support on Patreon really helps me being able to focus more on making that kind of stuff. So it's completely voluntary. All these tutorials are always going to be out there for free, and these streams will be free. But I do a bonus live stream for people who support on Patreon at a certain level, and you can get all the scene files. All the scene files that make saved here are on Patreon. So I just wanted to go play this quick little animation that I created for Patreon, and then we're going to jump in and do the next question. I will be right back. Woo! And I just want to do a big shout out now before I forget for everyone who is supporting me already on Patreon. It's really helpful, it's really fun, and it makes me excited to keep on doing this as often as I am. And I just want to do a really big extra super shout out to Burst FX and the Great Wanderer Studios for being really big donors to the stream, and that is really awesome. Thank you guys so much for helping out. So let's get back to the questions. Favorite one. Oop, a bunch of people talking amongst each other. Houdini. If you posted a link and I haven't seen it, can you? Oh, there's one. I went up to Java, and there's one right there. I'm going to try clicking this. Is it possible to make something like this in 3D? So back to the screen. And this usually means it's going to be a video or a picture of some sort. Whoa, look at that. So it's a photo from Clipzine, which might be a, this is, no, Clipzine. Who made the photo? Like I said, everybody, if you're posting to somebody's work, I would really love to see the source material. Now, hopefully this goes to, yeah, see, it's a dead link. I want to be able to, let's see, search Google for image, and Viking ships. Look at all this geometry it's trying to find because it's visually similar. Pinterest, 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 Pinterest. Nobody seems to have the original here to give the artist any credit. That's not actually the one you directly linked to, but that one seems to have disappeared as soon as I clicked a non-working one. In any case, let me see what we've got. I mean, there's all sorts of super... well, the question is, can you make this kind of thing in 3D? The simple answer is yes. The tricky answer goes to how the heck do we actually make something like that? And the tricky part is Tobias, Tendrils, JPEG, Hecticon. This Houdini. It looks like this might be something somebody else made. It's a lot of geometry, and it's how are these things all linking up with each other. So you have to, It really just goes to almost like what we were just doing, where you trace a bunch of objects and then you start linking them together, and you want different things to have different thicknesses, and you want to start feeding it different behaviors. I'm trying to think if there's anything we can do to make this anything like it. The tricky part goes to, like, you see every strand is a different thickness. Every time I mouse over it, it gets real dark. Every line that we see, some are like spider web thin and some are really thick, and they're all kind of organically curving. So getting thickness on top of everything else is a tricky detail, especially when you see some of them are transitioning pretty randomly. So that'd be a lot of separate parts, separate moving parts. Let me think. Let me think. Because presumably the way this is actually made is like, I don't know, like melting a bunch of plastic and then stretching it while it's kind of melty, and then all the different fibers are kind of pulling apart, and you get like all this internal structure and things being able to stretch and bend and twist. So we can't make it based, like, I often try and approach something where it's like, oh, let's build it like it would be really built in the real world. This one, it's not really jumping out in a way that's, oh yeah, it's not jumping out in a way that it gives me something obvious. I'd love to tackle it, but like nothing is coming to mind. And if you just think about the sheer amount of geometry you would need, I just don't, I can't think of any way right now of super specifically doing it. So unfortunately, we're gonna have to jump over that one. Even though it is really cool, I like that kind of question. And if this was more of a regular episode and we could spend a bunch of time on it, I would be totally down. Umbrella, what do you got here? Instagram link from Adventure Studio.
We anticipate the needs of every passenger in advance.
Let me make sure that audio is not coming through. There's way too much going on here for me to know specifically what you are asking about, Umbrella. Yeah, look at all that stuff going on. Lots of, I mean, in a lot of ways, this seems more 2D. It looks like, I mean, like, I guess some of it could be based on 3D, but I don't see any reason why this wouldn't just be made in, like, After Effects or something like that. There's a bunch of cool angled swirls, but, like, I just feel like it'd be mostly 2D. So, cool looking, but I just don't think it's a good one for right now. Tackle something like this 2D, 3D effect from Sam. What do you got? It's cool looking. It's popped open in Twitter, unfortunately. Twitter web client. Yeah, jump to the Twitter web client. Nope, that's not what I wanted. Twitter, how do I get on the website? I think here. Embed tweet. Follow. Dang it. Well, that's fine. We'll just check it out here, all tiny. Assuming you mean that like that laser. Oh, it is actually in 3D. That's cool. And then they even have a wireframe. Oh, look at that beautiful explosion there. That's so cool. Splat. Little 2B torus thing going, and then look at all those nice stretchy noises going across. Let's see if we can do something. I'm intrigued. Let's go into R20, open up a new file, and I'm thinking we might be able to do something with some sort of noise. Let's just jump right to that stretchy part. So here's my thought. If we make a tube and we make it tall, we don't need to go too tall for testing purposes. And let's go ahead and build a volume builder. And then we create a, let's see, where does that live? Mesh volume, no. tools, create field. Let's write for our random field. Although we might want to group it. Yeah, let's group it. What do we do in shader field? Shader fields are slower to calculate, but I don't know. I'm not sure which is better, honestly. And if we do a group field, does that even work that way? I don't know. I'm getting more complicated in my mind. But if I make a group field and I feed it a noise field, then we might be able to modify it. So I've got a noise, and I'm going to set that a random field, and I can make it a noise, and then now it's a Perlin noise. I'm going to make it, I don't know, about 500. And now that that's there, let's go ahead and drop that in. And now it does generate the noise, which is cool. And now I'm going to say that I want this union field to be the shape of whatever object came below. So you can see that we get this second object going. Looks like we do need to exist, so I'm going to say the intersection of those two things. And we're going to have to really crank up our resolution here. Okay, so there we go. Now, the reason to put this random field into the group field instead of directly into the builder is now we're in the group field, and now we have the ability of putting on different modifiers. So that's very important because you can't do that inside of the volume builder directly. So we got our noise field. The noise that immediately comes to mind is Cranel. I'm not sure it's pronounced entirely. But if we put that in, this is kind of the noise I'm thinking about here. But that shape isn't very nice. So we go into the group field, and now we can do something like create a curve. Let's make a curve. And now I'm going to flip it horizontally. Yeah, there we go. So we flip that horizontally, and we get the opposite effect. Now, view settings. Don't show me the viewport plane. I don't know. It's just visually annoying to me. I want more resolution. Let's drop that down to 2. And this is intersecting in an interesting way. I really just want like a really thin sheet of this, so I'm going to make this tube even thinner. Let's set this to 75 and 80. How's that work? What if we just say 75, 75? I'm just curious what it'll do. It's a little confused, so let's make it one bigger. There we go, that's fine. All right, we're getting somewhere here. Let's go ahead and, actually this shouldn't be that difficult. We do something like that, and inside of our group field we could definitely change the curvature here. So like by changing the way this should be getting interpreted, yeah, you can definitely see how we can modify that geometry a little bit, get things a little more interconnected. Although we saw in that breakdown that it wasn't perfect all the way. Now I might be inclined to stretch this noise vertically. Do we have that option? Yeah. So let's go ahead and make it twice as tall. So it's going to be stretching vertically. And then we can put this entire thing into a builder, a volume mesher rather. So automatically make that the parent. That is going to happen. Boom. And then my thought here is we might need more connections, but if we just make a smoothing deformer and we smooth the heck out of this thing, then we're going to get some really nice, well, they'll smooth out in a way that I think is actually pretty similar, but we need these to connect better. So I'm actually, I'm going to go back to, let's do a different trick. I'm going to go back to regular Perlin noise. Okay, so we got Perlin noise. And then we've got our curve, and the curve is valid, but I'm going to use a colorizer. I think that might be a little more intuitive. So let's get rid of that. And I'm going to grab a colorizer. And the curve and the colorizer in this context are pretty similar, but I want this to go from white to black to white, possibly the opposite. Oh, this only affects the color. Dang it. Okay. Well, okay, we can't use a colorizer. I thought we could. But if we use the curve, we'll have the same idea, which is I want it to, let's make it linear so that it's a little more straightforward. I want it to go in the middle. Yeah. Oh, we had something good there for a second. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So what we've done is it's like the gradient. We're going from white to black to white, but it's actually more of a middle gray instead of white. And now you can see we get these nice little stripes going. And now with these nice little stripes going, now we can mesh them, and then we can smooth them, and now we get those beautiful little stripes going. Look at that. And I mean, we've got pretty heavy resolution here. I don't know if we actually need it to be that high. Yeah, I can lower that. And oh, look, I mean, geez, that's practically identical. And we can go back here to the group and the low, nope. Okay, so yeah, if we go a little bit higher, they're going to be interconnected more. If we go a little lower, they're going to be a little bit more separate. And yeah, that's just there. It just exists, and that is looking nice. If we go to our random field, we should maybe be able to give it some animation speed. It might run a little slow. Not horrible. And there. Now we get that going, and they just had their cylinder inside of it as well. In fact, it wasn't a cylinder; it was a capsule shape. You just get that inside and get your proper materials, and we've got that rocking pretty much identically. Quite pleased. That's I think spot on. So let's, and then I mean that little blob that they have in the beginning is gorgeous too. I don't want to spend the time on that, and even that like they just do. Oh man, it's so well done. But yeah, you just look at that nice little shock right there, and I wouldn't know what exactly I'm looking at. But then we go and we look at it there. It's like, oh, it's just this kind of the same geometry. And honestly, we're not gonna spend any time on it. But like right now, we're just feeding it this tube. But instead, let's save this. Mm-mm-mm. Sphere. Oh wait, no, I don't want that. I want this one, which is I don't know, liquid force field effect. Even though it's a gun, I still feel like it's kind of force field looking. So that's got actual geometry. But yeah, we're feeding it this tube. But if we were to feed it something like, oh, we always get trouble when we do this kind of thing. But if we fed it a sphere, I'm a little worried here. But if we feed it the sphere, and it's a full sphere, and this is still adapting. Oh, oh, wow, okay, that worked really easily. I thought we'd have more trouble there. So yeah, we just have it on the sphere, and I'm not sure how the thickness works because it seems to just be doing the skin, but oh, nice intersect union. Okay, yeah, that's working shockingly well. Surface threshold. Oh, nice. We can just add thickness here as well. Oh yeah, there's different settings here. I haven't spent necessarily a ton of time doing, but you do that kind of thing. And if our sphere, oh yeah, let's just do this because it'll be cool. Let's go to a icosahedron, and it's already pretty subdivided. But if we just put a couple, let's put a displacer on it. And what's a good noise? Let's put a noise on it. I just want to see our sphere for a second. Let's go ahead and subdivide this thing heavily. Very heavily. And then in our displacer, I'm going to go to the noise, and let's go to something like a Voronoi shape. And let's go ahead and scale it up a lot. Yeah, okay, that's working pretty much like I want it to. And then we put that into a colorizer. And I'm going to put the colorizer from black to white. And we're going to pull this way, nope, opposite. We do something like that, so it really gets sharper on the end. And now in our displacer, I'm going to say, whoa, okay, intensity. Now I'm going to start pushing those way out. And the curve's not perfect on there. We could probably do something slightly better, but if we pull these in correctly, even something like that, so you get this kind of thing going. Yeah, it's not exactly what I was thinking, but it's not bad. Put a smoothing on it afterward, maybe, which should blend all those together a little bit. Yeah, not bad. And I'm going to push it out further because of smoothing. So we do something like that, and now we let that be the shape that's intersecting, and yeah, now you end up with this kind of blobby going, which can be, right there, not bad. Like we can totally work from that. But I'd also wonder if that's how that's displacing. It displaces in. I don't know. There's other ways we could displace, but I think we could get that kind of thing going. And if we gave this a little bit of speed, honestly, a decent amount of speed from where the animation was going, so you get, this is not playing back in real time, but something like that's not terrible. I would almost want to, you get your original shape. I guess it is pretty thick right now, but I kind of like to take the final shape here and then take certain points of it and stretch it out and stretch it out. And there's probably ways to do that wouldn't be insane, but none are immediately jumping to mind. But yeah, just pulling out, pulling out, pulling out. So it's kind of like they'd be stretched along those lines as well. But you can, this is a good setup for making additional cool, weird, crazy shapes. So we'll just do that one as a sphere as well. Boom. Alrighty. So, everybody, I think it is time to do the giveaway. Let's do it. So, I have grabbed my chat and I have scrolled up as far as I possibly can. And I did it quick enough so nobody had time to try and jump in after I said it. So I have now copied all of the text. So here's what I'm seeing. And right there was the last one I saw. So VFX King was the last one to say something. So I just copied all of that. So anybody who's been chatting for quite some time, I've now got that copied. Hopefully I can copy from here. Let me make sure I can. Yes, indeed I can. All right, so here's the idea. Where is our question page here? This is a very, very low tech solution here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it in here and I hit randomize lines. So that means literally every name, time code, and text is going to be there. But then starting from the top, I'm going to go down and the first actual screen name, let me get this up here. When it lists all the things out, the first screen name that's up at the top. So you might see a time code and a name and a question. But the first name that we see nearest the top, that is going to be the official winner. So let me go ahead and jump in the chat. Let's see who's everybody who's hanging out here. We got Brolius and MW, Nico, Jeff, Tobias, Carbon, Hussein. What's going on? Ooh, Squizzy. Yeah. Okay, so just to recap real quick before we do it this is the last episode. This is episode 20 of season 1 of Rocket Lasso Live, season 1. So this season is wrapping up. I will be back in 2 months, 2.5 months. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm going to be doing some other projects I need to be focusing on. So we're going on season break. We'll be back with a whole bunch more episodes. And there still will be some random live streams, and then the bonus stream I'm still planning on doing on a pretty regular basis. I just need a little bit of time to focus on some other projects. So, because I don't have any tools built yet, I reached out to Maxon and asked them if they had anything I could give away in the stream, and they were very generous in saying that I could give away a 1-year subscription to Cinema 4D R21. So whoever wins, it doesn't start until the new version is released, but once it does, you'll have 1 year of prepaid subscription all set up. So I'm going to go back to the screen. We are set up here. We are ready to rock. Okay, good luck, everybody. I've already copied it. I'm going to go ahead and paste. When I paste, this is not it. This is just a raw paste. So when I hit randomize, you can see we get all tons and tons of lines here. When I hit randomize, whichever name is nearest the top is what we're going with. So, oh, and ignore the word avatar because I think that's just all the copied names. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Randomized lines. Oh, it looks like our winner is Ebmiro. Ebmiro. Are you still here, Ebmiro? And like I said, you have to be here if you're going to win. So, Ebmiro, are you here? Give it a few seconds. If you're on YouTube, unfortunately, you're like 30 seconds behind. If you are on Twitch, you're only like 3 seconds behind. It's just the way the streaming services work. So, let's give a few minutes. But my name is Avatar. Let's see. Is it in the entire chat list? I'm not sure. I scrolled up as far as I could in this chat window, so it's just the way it is. Ebmiro, are you here? If you're not here, I said earlier you had to be here to get it. So if it's not here, I'm just going to hit randomize again. Guess not. Well, I'm going to give it a little bit more time. I'm going to scroll back up. Everybody, we are going to tackle one more question before the end. But I'm going to hit randomize again so that everybody has the tension of seeing if it happens a second time. It's too bad. Too bad they were here and now they're gone. Not here. All right, I'm going to count down. All right, we got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oops, sorry. Wait. Oh my God, I'm this. Oh, okay. I thought somebody just popped in, but it looks like we're at the end there. It seems like your name is Russian, but yes, you are there hanging out. So, thanks for coming and hanging out. Well, it looks like Miro wasn't here, so I am sad that they're not here, but I want to be able to do it and not have to track someone down and everything. And those were the rules. So I'm going to hit randomize again, and wherever um, what whoever is the next one is going to be the real. I just want to make sure I don't want to screw it up and have them be like that's for really what it is. Oh, select a new chat. Well, everybody's the ones that are still here. So you know what? I'll do it. Starting from that moment, I'm scrolling up as far as this one allows, and it should be people who are more recently here. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, I copied it. I'm going to select all the old ones, delete it. This is not the role. I'm just pasting it in. So this is the new post. Here's all the new names in here. So here we go. We're rolling a second time, everybody. 3, 2, 1. Randomize. Wait, it's the same one again. Why is the same name at the top? That's really weird. Even though the rest of it is all randomized. Well, I don't know if the same person lucked out twice or if there's something weird with the copy and paste or what the deal is, but we're going to skip over that one because they were not here and we're moving to Abdo. Abdo. I think you got it, Abdo. You are here. I am the 2. Yeah, we're going with that. Okay, Abdo wins. Abdo wins R21. 1 year of R21. So, okay, awesome. I'll maybe cut some parts of this out from the final stream, but because we don't need all that extra time. But congratulations. That's really exciting. R21 is a fun version, and you'll get the subscription stuff going. So, Abdo, if you can please make sure you are on the Rocket Lasso Slack and then PM me. So yeah, if you're not already on there, do it and let's make sure. But yeah, the official way of contacting will be jump on Rocket Lasso Slack. I don't know if you're already on there or not. Just make sure you hit him. Hit random again just because. Oh, that's just going to make somebody sad to see what they didn't get. So this one totally doesn't count, but I'm just going to randomize because Crossfader's calling for it. Let's see. Okay, you're already on Slack. So right now, Abdo, message me so I know it's you, and then I'll get your details and pass them on to Maxon. Stem 4, yeah, somebody just won. Abdo just won. I get randomized again. And we got Burns. Burns would have been the thing, but we don't have any other prizes. And Maxon gave me exactly one to give away. So we're going to stick with that. We can change that in the future when I have my own things to give away. Maybe we can have multiple drawings. But for right now, that's what it is. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. But thanks, everybody, for hanging out and doing it and all the support. I saw earlier, I was in the middle of it, but somebody had said they jumped on and just became a patron, which I super duper appreciate. That is awesome. You know how there's a lot of gamers who are like constantly streaming and then they're like, oh, thanks for the follow. Thanks for this. Hey, that's just annoying. I'd rather just go straight through the question. So I tend to ignore that kind of stuff. Like, yes, we're on Twitch, but I'm not a Twitch streamer. Okay, everybody's all super excited and talking about the role, but the let's get one last question. Who's going to have the last question of season 1 of Rocket Lasso? And let's see, make sure that let's see, have you messaged yet, Abdo? Well, do it right now so I know it's you. Send me a direct message on the Rocket Lasso Slack, just so we can lock that in right now. But everybody, if you're still in the chat, go ahead and do a question, and let's see who gets to ask the final question of season 1. Well, Fake Blood. Oh, revisit this one. I guess I am a little reluctant to revisit things, but let's go ahead and take a look at what you got and see if we have any new. Oh, that's just suction stuff. I am not doing this one again. Sorry. I remember this one. This is like doing vacuum forming stuff. It's always really cool. But I don't have I have nothing new to say about it, and it would just be a lot of time and I think frustration. This would make maybe this would make for a really good full tutorial, but I am not going to try and do it in another live stream right now. But PCAT. Okay, Abdo has now messaged me. Awesome. I just wanted to make sure you're there, and someone else doesn't make a quick fake account or something and try and pretend to be you. Okay, so PCAT William. Could I create a holographic prism tape texture in Cinema 4D? Oh no, spectral shader, repeating radial. Spectral shader stuff always gets real tricky. Oh my goodness. Yeah, this. I don't even. I mean, okay. You know, I'm going to try and do something real quick with this one, and then we will do another question after it, because I wonder if we can make something that's kind of along these lines that looks okay. I just don't know. So it either is going to work right away and be okay, or it's going to look terrible. And we'll find out quite quickly. So we're going to jump in, and we're going to be doing a bunch of reflectance. We need something to reflect for this to work, so I'm going to just go ahead and use HDR Studio Rig. All I'm doing is putting an HDR in the scene, so that's the only goal of doing this. I'm just loading a very fast HDR. Let's get a nice reflection going. Let's go to my favorite. Where's my favorite? Well, I have two favorites. Botanical Garden 1, but Derelict 1. That's my boy. Derelict 1. Okay, so we've got that going. And now let's go ahead and we've got our material. I'm going to go ahead and apply it to a cylinder. And this is all reflectance. So we're going to change this to be a GGX. And we're going to make it, I don't know about roughness, but no specular. Lots of reflection. Okay, cool. And now we need, actually, no, it's not GGX. We have to set it to an anisotropic. An anisotropic one. And figure that out. Because once we're in anisotropic, things get weird. We have to reprojection, radial. Oh man, yeah, I'm just gonna. This is why I'm not gonna make. We're definitely gonna do one more question after this, because I'm just gonna be clicking around. Let's make a box. Mirror scratches, I don't know, secondary scratches, primary scratches, circular. I mean, yeah, we're just clicking around. Primary scale, be bigger. Length, amplitude. There's a lot of settings here. Which one? One of these, I haven't done these in a while. Nope, not that one. I thought one of these scaled these up, because we want to kind of zoom in on that more. Sort of. But yeah, that would get applied, and then we're going to tile it. I don't know how many times, so let's say 3 by 10. And now let's turn on a quick little render preview. Not bad. Yeah, so these are radial, but that's, I mean, that's what we showed. We showed radial, and now we're tiling, and anisotropic, but now we need that to zoom in. Oh, scale, that's what I'm looking for. There we go, scale. None. Nope, we need scale. Planar, scale, offset. Yeah, see how this gets real weird? So then we need to like offset it like that, and I can make it bigger. Now we get a radial, and that radial pattern can start repeating. And we don't, it's really hard to see how it's tiling here. That is not at all behaving the way I thought it would. Unless, you know, let's look at the reference again. I mean, yeah, that's a radial pattern, but this radial is behaving quite oddly. And even I don't even trust these tiles. I mean, they do seem to be tiling. But like literally everything I click is gonna be. But why are we still seeing the entire pattern? I would think that maybe it's a reprojection. Yeah, that's ugly. Yeah. And then here we can possibly feed a spectral. Everybody get your next question ready because I don't, I'm not feeling too great about this one. We can't even, I guess we can feed, yeah, you can feed in colors here, but you can't feed in, like, I don't know, if you go into here and you go into the anisotropy, like that's just angle. So feeding in a spectral there, like I'm just curious what it'll do. I don't think it'll do anything, but it did something. But yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff here. I'm just not super qualified to answer this one. I feel like it'll look a lot better in the third-party renders, but I certainly don't have the answer along those lines. So, but we need a question. We need to end this on a good question. So let's see. Crossrader is a link. VFX King has a typed question. Is it possible to make a relatively okay-looking glow in vanilla Cinema 4D? Actually, okay. Well, let's keep going. I'm having fun, so we're not in a rush here. So, two things. Well, first of all, somebody's saying, Vladimir, you do not need an invitation for Slack. Just go to rocketlassoslack.com, and then you can sign in from there. So that's all you need. And then somebody's asking about if I have any C4D Roadshow information. Not specifically, except that it's happening in late September and going kind of all through October in different places in the world. I am going to do that glow effect thing because it sounds cute. I don't think we're going to spend a lot of time on it, but let's see if we can do a little something because I got a couple things I can say about this. There are, as far as I know, 3 different things I'm going to try and do to make a glow. Well, that's not true. I can think of 4, actually. So the first way is the old school way. This has been in cinema forever. Like, this has been, like, freaking forever. And it's just you're making material and turning on glow. It's just crazy how that's, like, a setting. So let's turn on the luminance channel, and then we have a glow, and the glow automatically, I think, takes on the color of whatever the luminance or color channel has. So we have an inner strength and an outer strength, and then I usually just make those the same. If I set to 500, or make them equal, 100, 100, and we hit render, then boom, you get your nice little glow. Let's go ahead and give it a pretty big radius, and you see nice little glow happening on the outside. How do you make it, allow it to have its own color? Oh, use material color, yeah. You just do that. So yeah, this is actually the best way, is just turning it off, and now we're purely seeing glow. The inner glow and outer glow are perfectly matching, so they just fade, they just fade perfectly from one to the other. It's old school, it's clunky, it doesn't look amazing, you don't have a lot of direct control over it. Anybody who has, some people are still chatting about the that radial spectral stuff. If anybody has a thought, definitely jump on the Slack channel. I'd love to see some examples or some other ideas of people putting that together, even some third-party renderers, because I would like to know. But anyway, so that's one type of glow. A second glow would be well, yeah, this one's a little more specific, but I'm just gonna make a luminance sphere, but I'm gonna just go and make a light. So if we just make a light and we add in a visible light to it, we can go ahead and feed that. And now if it's visible, I'm gonna say don't cast illumination, and we'd have to make it pretty bright, but we can also give it an inner radius. So if I make that inner radius go right there, we should have a pretty strong brightness there. But we just have more direct control over this, like how far it's going to go, and it's more of a proper volume. Of course, this is just on a sphere, but there's actually quite a few shapes that you can apply this to. And even if it wasn't the shape, you can keep in mind that if we made something like a helix, we can clone a sphere onto a helix. So let's go ahead and make that radius 0, a height of 0, and we can go and make let's just make another visible light, and we'll make a cloner. And let's go ahead and clone onto an object. The object will be the helix. We can have a direct count, or we can set it to step, which is the way I like doing it. So if we say like 10, then now it's going to be making 10 of those. And now we just have a whole repeating sequence. Let's go ahead and once again make it visible. and no illumination because we don't need that. Detail, oh, visibility. Here's our radius at 255. And there's a nice, smooth, kind of glowy fall off. So the ability to clone a bunch of a bunch of lights onto something definitely has some possibility. Not amazing, but not horrible. I didn't save the first one, but I'm not really going to worry about not saving the old school cinema glow. Close blind. Next up is the post effect glow in cinema. Not something, literally something I haven't touched in years and years. But let's see if I can remember. I'm going to go ahead and make this little guy luminant. And let's go ahead into our generic post effects here. And let's go and add in a post effect glow. And this has a lot of settings that are a lot more specific. Let's just render. It's a post effect, and it's a little subtle right now. Let's go and put the intensity up to 100%. So you can see, boom, look at that glow. Definitely more going on here. So we have size of the glow, so we can make it pretty small, and then you can go, I think a little bit goes a long way. I think this glow of 15 is going to be, yeah, you can see it's even taking a long time to calculate it because there's so much of it. But what's cool about this one is you can do things like set it to scale and scale based on certain distances and colorize it. There's actually a surprising amount of settings. We can turn on the noise. There's only 3 types of noise, which is interesting. But yeah, you can get like a messier glow that's only appearing on certain parts of the character. So yeah, doing that, like little bits of glow here. The post effect doesn't take too long. The color, looks like we can customize the color, and you can colorize things based on distance and possibly the intensity of the object underneath it. Yeah, so you can have glows happen if there's like a little glint in the water. Like if you had like a little shimmer on the water, you can make it blow out with a glow. It's actually not bad. But I definitely don't use it. It's pretty old. And then this one, I'm going to do the final one here. It's kind of the last one. And it's a little bit weird and novel. I wonder if I have my mouse character. That might be a fun one to have a glow, just because it's a more complicated shape. Let me, let's see, where would I have that? Let me search on the other screen for a second. Intercomp. I have a presentation folder. Oh wait, the mouse was not in a presentation. It was in R21. So, R21 is in tutorials, R21, weight, force, layer, soft body, auto weight. Let's see if we got the poor mouse again. Yes, we do. Excellent. Go away, go away. There you go. I got my little mouse character. Made him a long time ago. So, let's see if we can put a Sketch and Tune based glow on this one. So I don't even know what this is doing here because there's no materials. So here, let's see if we can get a Sketch and Tune glow. I'm going to make a new sketch material. And we're going to apply that to our little mouse. And let's go ahead and say that I'm just going to say outline for right now. So let's hit render and see what we get. Well, not much because Sketch and Tune isn't turned on. Looks like I had Sketch and Tune at some point here. I'm going to leave background off, which means it should be black, which means if I take my sketch material and I say change the color to white, hopefully we see something. Yeah, cool. Yeah, nice. So, boom, we got an outline. We got an outline around our character here. But now we can start doing some fancier things by, let's add on a bunch of thickness. You see, we put this big old thickness on there, but we have a setting which is not a long stroke, not screen angle. Which one is it? Oh wait, no, I want to not be on thickness anyway. I want to be on opacity. There we go. And that's why I didn't see it, because it's from line. That's what I'm looking for. So now we have a transparency from line. So you can see already that this looks a little bit weird. Let's go ahead and hit render and see what we got right away. Oh, look at that. Look at this funky little overlapping, almost glow effect we have. So a couple things to note. First of all, let's see if we can stop this from overlapping in a bad way. That's always a little tricky. Self-blend, lighten, blend, lighten. Dang it. Those are my best hopes, actually. Maybe don't lighten. I don't want to add. I think that would overblow it as well. Are none of these going to actually work? Average. Well, it did. Okay, well, it did something. So let's try screen. No. The difference, the overlay, the dodge. I thought, I swear it was just add or. But yeah, now I'm just guessing. So this is just wasting people's time. I think there's a way where we can stop these from overlapping in a very ugly way. Maybe multiplying. Honestly, I was doing it backward. Nope. Oh well. I thought there's a way. I think I've even talked about a different video. People are saying overlay. I really don't think it's overlay. Yeah. Show visible, hidden, static. Yeah, it's one of them. Too bad. Okay, well, anyway, that's not even the point, because more what I want to do is if we invert this and we flip it the opposite maximize, let's flip it horizontally, then now you see it's built more like a glow, but half of it's actually inside the character. But if we just actually pull this to the halfway point, let's go up to 0.5, pretty much exactly, and then we'll dive way down. Then now you can see that it looks like we've got a perfect glow outside of the character. Unfortunately, the overlap is still causing us trouble. Maybe it's in the tag as well. Combine. No. Inclusive, exclusive. Yikes. Oh, hierarchy. Objects. Dang it, I really wish I could remember. If anybody can remember, I'm pretty certain there is some combination of settings here that allow it. I just don't remember. But yeah, unfortunately, he's a complex shape. But the idea here is if we got it working well, it's going to look a little bit ugly on some of those overlaps. So let's kind of ignore that, because I'm pretty sure there's a setting that fixes that. I'm just not sure. But we can make it pretty thick. And now you can get these really kind of specific glows traveling around the entire thing. And you have the ability to... We can also probably get them joining together better than I think about it. In the world, have them actually connect, and then maybe adjust them or distort them into a B-spline just like we did earlier. I don't know if that'll actually help, but that's not the solution. Tag, I don't think it's in the render settings. Yeah, well, if somebody doesn't have a specific answer, just guessing unfortunately doesn't really help too much. It's not multiple applying either. Well, yeah. But anyway, I just want to get to that. You can also go to your thickness, and you can say, I want some thickness based on noise, and then you can get some really cool looking noise patterns along as well. Did I do something that inverted it? Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, we can go and turn on our noise. And there, I clicked some setting that's weird. But now you can see that by turning on the noise inside of thickness, you can see we get this nice little varied glow around it. And we have this scale that we can change to whatever we like. And now we can do like a little soft glow, and you get these variations on top of it. And you can go further and further with it, like this big spooky glow. And it's, yeah, those overlap. And then different types of noise are going to do different patterns. I don't have any specific one in mind, but we do something crazy like Luca, and you see we get like these crazy, like almost ice spikes traveling along the edge. So there's a lot of really fun combinations that could layer up on top of everything. And yeah, I've done this glow effect on a couple things in the past, and it's pretty cool that you can just use Sketch and Tune and just like art direct exactly what you want it to be. So I'll go ahead and give this a save to also include. And I'm going to go see if there's any other cool questions. And then we will wrap up soon. Sketch and Tune. Glow. Pro Tools just happened to have a question pop up as I went to take a glance at. Two objects, maybe tiny spheres, running in a circle against each other. Is it possible to trace the distance between them every 10th frame to create some kind of pattern? What? Okay, so you've got two spheres and you want to suddenly create a connection between them that's persistent. Oh man, how would you do that outside of code? Mm, 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 mm. Um, that's a weird one. Um, because you need every time I'd have to add another one, create a new connection between the two. Because you could make a tracer trace it every 10th frame, but then how do you make those interlink with each other? It could be a rail spine. Oh, but the scale. How do you get the scale? The okay. Well, okay. This is probably something of a dead end. Well, I don't, the specifics of why you want it to do this really matter. So I'm going to make a red material, a blue material. We'll make two spheres. And let's go ahead and put a vibrate tag. So we're not using plugins. I'll do a vibrate tag. Let's go ahead and do a big old position where I'll have it travel around quite a bit on X and Y. We'll slow it down a lot. And let's hit play, see what that does. Okay, it's always pretty subtle, so I'm going to... Let's have it go way further, but way slower. Way slower. All right. Okay, so we'll do that. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to make the blue one a child of it. We're going to add a second vibrate tag. Is that absolute? It might be. And then we're going to make that way faster. So the idea here is, let's see. Yeah, that's better. So now they're both kind of traveling together, but they're going to be constantly doing like this new weird pattern. So that's all I want to do. So now I'm going to grab our sphere and I'm going to make a tracer object. So now we're tracing. I don't want to trace the vertices. I just want to trace the object. Now I'm going to say I only want to trace every 10th frame. And yeah, it's linear. So now it's only tracing every 10th frame. In fact, let's exaggerate. I'm going to say every 25th frame. And we'll give ourselves more time. Okay, I'm going to make a second tracer, and this tracer is going to trace the blue spline. So now, let's rewind. Okay, so now you can see that we have two different lines that are getting traced, and we got point 1, point 1, point 2, point 2, point 3, point 3. So we've got that going, so that gives us a starting point. And then it goes to how do we start making those connect to each other at some point, because we've got, it depends, you're just saying like kind of make a, what did you specifically say? Possible to trace the distance between them every 10th frame. Trace between them every 10th frame. I'm trying to do this without going into code. Well, definitely not going into code. And not going into Espresso either. Because, I mean, there's a lot of edges. Okay. If we make a loft, we can feed these two into the loft, and they should just sweep between each other. So now we get something like that. And if we tell the loft to have no subdivisions... Oh, dang. It needs to have the exact same count. Yeah, every time another 25 frames goes. So we need Espresso even to do that because we need to generate a new subdivision each 25th frame, which is not difficult Espresso, but I'm trying to avoid that. But even if that did work, let's just eyeball this, and it's a little funky. I don't know if that's correct, but let's just assume it is. So we want to make a connection in between the two. So then it turns into like, okay, let's just say we make a cube, and let's make the cube yellow. And we put the cube into a cloner, and we tell the cloner to clone onto an object. The object is a loft. The distribution is the edge. The scale on edge is 100%. So now these are perfectly scaling on every single edge. So now what we needed to do is only draw them on these center point ones, which is as far as my brain got this process. And I'm going to make this three-dimensional, so that might work a little bit better. So how do we make only these middle ones exist? I mean, every time another one is made, there's two. I wonder, oh, that'd be weird, but that might work actually. If I put a null, 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 and if we put the cube in the right position, it might need three. Oh, nope. Oh, that works. Okay, 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 okay. Like, that's not bad. That's not bad. So now the only thing we need to do is make sure that the loft is creating that got a little funky. The count might matter, but that's fine. Let's just ignore that part right now and we'll get there. What we needed to do is generate, we need the loft to suddenly increase by 1 subdivision. It starts out with 3. That's strange. I don't want it to have 3. Why is it minimum? Why does it force us to have 1 subdivision? What if I just want to go line to line? Think. I mean, a loft is the only thing that connects between two objects like that. We could do a halfway point between the two, make a sweep. Actually, that might work. The Blackie Chan. The reason we're not going to use code is that most people can't do code, so solving the problem via that becomes a one-time solution for most people. Okay, so what I'm thinking is if we had a halfway point, and then the other becomes a rail spline, then we can sweep. That seems logical. It's weird, but it's logical, I think. All right, so here's, let's make this pretty blatant. Let's make another sphere. I'm going to make it green. And what we're going to do with this sphere is we're going to make it a little smaller. And I'm going to make this is fun, so I'm going to keep going. We're going to make a PSR tag. So we are going to try and go to the halfway point between that sphere, let's add another one, and that sphere. So you see, boom, that's right in the middle. It's in between the two. So if that is in between, what I want is the one tracer to trace that mid sphere. We should maybe name these mid and blue and red. Okay, so one tracer is going to trace the blue sphere. The other tracer is going to trace the midpoint one. So those become two. We have a midpoint line in that one. So that is now the middle, and then this blue one is now a rail spline. Excuse me. So if that is now the case, then when we trace here, the red one's being ignored, but it's being used to generate that midpoint. And that is now happening. So that is working very well. Okay, so now we make a 2-point spline. Very simple. Make a cube, delete 2 of the points. Make sure it is an open spline. Don't close it. Select, and let's zero out the Y position. There. It's a 2-point spline in between. Now, we make a sweep, and we feed that into the sweep, and we feed the midpoint one, and now it's tracing it, but now we feed in the rail spline as the third one. There we go, nice. So now it is angled to the rail spline. Let me make sure that makes sense. Is it scale? Okay, that's actually only scaling to the midpoint, which is not what I expected. That might mean we don't need the midpoint. Is there like a checkbox? Rail scale to rail. Okay, well, apparently we didn't need the midpoint. That is not behaving the way I thought it did, but let's just go put the red in instead. So now we should get our 2 lines. Yeah, okay. There we go. That's and now this is to kind of solve the problem that the loft was giving us, which was that the loft was it needed to constantly be adapting to new points. So now that that is sort of working, let's go ahead and clone onto the sweep. And let's make that visible. And let's see if there is indeed a proper pattern we can do. And I don't know if there is. Actually, right there, that is encouraging, but you never know. There we maybe go. All right, let's see. I'm going to have this cube be smaller. I'm going to have the tracers trace more often. Go to 15. Let's see. Mink. Mink. I think we got it. If we hide... Oh, look at that. Look at that cute little rig. Make the nulls invisible. Yeah, look at that. As these travel around, they're going to create their... They'll eventually create the new tracer connection. So they've always got that one in between, which is connecting, and then they'll just kind of leave it behind every once in a while. Neat. That's pretty cool. I didn't think we were going to get it, actually. Let's do 2 different seeds here. Let them just travel the world. Me changing the camera seems to confuse it a little bit, but look how, I mean, that's actually a pretty nice little rig. Very clean to set up. I mean, yeah, I mean, look how incredibly simple this overall setup was. Put them in the proper kind of calculation order. This would maybe be better if it was a cylinder instead of a rectangle. That way it'd be traveling across. I mean, we could probably even map, now that I think about it, we could probably map a spline if we have the correct orientation. There we go. Now it is spitting out a series of splines, and now those could be swept or sketch and tuned or whatever. Those are just a constant series of lines. And what's super cool about this rig, and actually this is pretty cool, this is a fun question to end on. I like it. So who asked this question? I don't even remember. Pro Tools, good old Pro Tools, coming in on the last second with an awesome, weird, techie question. I don't even know what to call this one. Repeating trace pattern. what's cool about this is we just grab our two tracers and we can just type in whatever number we want. So now every fifth frame, it's going to automatically create the next line, and we can create this kind of pattern. And that starts, yeah, that starts becoming really kind of elegant looking. Ding, 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 ding. Now, let's just make sure that we can see this as a spline, which is always, there's always a question. So let's just create a hair material, because we haven't done that today. Hair material, put it on the cloner. Let's see if it will render them. It's not directly, but that's not necessarily a problem. We put that into a connect object. Let's see if it will see that. It does not. Let's see if we have hair, yeah, hair renderers on. So it doesn't like that one, but we might be able to force it to see them by putting into a spline mask. Let's see if that one, oh no, that one didn't work either. I thought that one would trick it into working. These nulls are possibly a problem, but that is sketch, that is hair material. Let's just check to see if we can do something with that, because having a spline does no good if you can't do something with it. So let's create an end side, and we'll create another sweep. Put that inside, and let's see if we can directly sweep the cloner. I kind of doubt it. It only sweeps the first one, but now if we put that into a connect, then yes, indeed, we can sweep all of them. So, but what's cool about this is this sweep is counting that as a single object, and especially if we turn off caps, if I say no cap, then even all this geometry is incredibly clean for Cinema. Even though we're generating all these individual clones of splines, all this geometry is being thought of as a single object in Cinema. That's neat. I wonder if we could even make them die after a little while. So if we say limit from end, and we limit it to, let's say, 55, let's see if they start disappearing. Oh, yeah. Oh, it took a little longer than I thought it would, but they do start disappearing. Seems to be confusing our sweep a little bit. So that might be something to watch out for. Very cool. Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything else to say here. We can set it to every other frame. That's actually pretty novel. I'm trying to think of any other applications that there might be for this kind of thing. Because it's pretty cool. I would, I've never done a rig quite like this one, so it makes me wonder if there's other possibilities. But in any case, let's jump back into the Slack. Yeah, it's trippy, it's cool, it's really neat. I like this a lot. There's probably a lot more we could do, layering it up, speeding it up. There's just a lot of different combinations of things. Let's go 3 times as fast. Make it yellow. Whee! Happy little splines. Alrighty, everybody. Let's give that a save. And let's go back over here. And yeah, I guess we're here at the end. We went almost an hour over, but you know what? That's okay for the last episode. So I guess I'll just say one last huge thank you to everybody for coming in, asking questions, hanging out, supporting me, just finding these tutorials, just being part of a really great community in Cinema 4D, being really open and sharing. I've gotten to experience some what some of the other crowds of people do, and Cinema 4D has an awesome community where everybody's very friendly and open and sharing. And if you're that kind of person, we definitely want you hanging out in the community. Head on over to rocketlassoslack.com to join our Slack channel. It's free. You just come and join in. Just come in and be cool. You answer questions, ask questions, just come and help out, do different challenges and projects. It's really fun. So I'm trying to think of anything else. Keep an eye out for announcements about the Max on Roadshow, which I'll be a big part of. EJ's going to be there as well. It's going to be really cool hanging out with him and a bunch of other cool artists. I'm going to be at Us by Night in early or late September. I'm going to be there. That's going to be exciting. I'll be doing some presentations. And then Half Res is coming up September 18th. If you're in the Midwest or if you just want to travel to Chicago, then September 18th, halfres.com. Really cool. So come and hang out there. That'd be awesome. Then I could meet you in person. Other than that, I think we are going to wrap up the season. Congratulations again to Abdo for winning R21 for a year. And anything else? No. Thanks everybody. It's been really fun, and I will definitely be back to do another season. Season 2. 100 seasons, 99 more. Thanks everybody. It was really great. So I am going to get out of here. So thanks again. Bye bye.